I'm not gonna start stream early. April Fool! Really got you guys, didn't I? You know? Really threw you for a goddamn loop there. You know? Really put you on a roller coaster of emotion. Turn off AC. There we go. No, it turned back on. Okay. Nope, it turned... Nope. What the fuck? I turn it off, it turns back on. Stop. Okay. You look a bit moist. I will never be able to do the thing that I've done literally every stream, which is shower and then put facial moisturizer on without somebody saying, yo, it looks like you have liquid on your face, dog. Somebody nut on you? Which, I mean, maybe, but no, it's probably the shower and the facial moisturizer. Why do you think my skin looks so nice, even though I'm 30? Oh, man. Does anyone do April Fools anymore? Like, seriously, though. Who gives a fuck? And what was this thing you were linking? Mehdi Hassan interviewing Chris Cuomo. Cuomo. Wouldn't that be illegal most of the time? To do April Fools? How? Here's a pretty good April Fools for Satisfactory. I don't give a shit about that. I mean, like day to day, person to person. Who cares? Life is foolish enough. He's celebrating April Fools by drunk driving, ironically. Yeah. The cops can't get you if you invoke the April Fools exception, you know? Then Yahoo is doing an April Fools. Oh, boy. Guys, I don't know if this one's an April Fools. Israeli airstrike destroys Iranian consulate in Syria. Okay. Man, I love our great ally in the Middle East, who definitely helps project regional stability. Rogue state? Seriously. A senior Revolutionary Guards commander, Brigadier General Mohammad Reza Zahedi, was among the dead. That's great. Isn't that like an attack on Iran directly? Yeah, it might as well be. This is, yeah, fucking, we're never having Middle Eastern stability, dog. Holy shit. I've been hearing about this. Bibi wants to escalate. Netanyahu understands that the moment the war ends, he's out. He's insanely unpopular. The only reason he's still in power is because of October 7th and the war cabinet. So if the war never ends, he never leaves. You know, forever war. Hell yeah. Fucking Hezbollah. Hell yeah. The Houthis. Sure, we'll find a way. You know, Iran. Hell yeah. That's a big enemy. Senior commander of the Revolutionary Guard's overseas operations. Several diplomats were among the dead. Would Biden back Bibi in a full-scale war in Syria Part 2? Well, the war wouldn't be with Syria, really. Syria is just like a festering corpse of a failed state occupied by 50 different, like, terrorist and paramilitary groups. It's Iran here that's the issue, and Iran is a real country with a real military. Iran says the response will be harsh. I mean, yeah. Rogue state shit, man. Anyway, if you're asking if Biden would support Netanyahu in a war with Iran, you have to forgive me for my naivete, but I must. Okay, I have to say this. I feel like that might actually be a real red line. Like, there are limits, and dragging the entire Middle East into, like, the largest regional war in decades might actually be one. I don't know. Maybe he would. Maybe he would. Maybe Biden would go like, yeah, you know, the Iran the axis of terror, we got to support our... But who knows? Like, who knows? Previous red lines have been crossed. Yes, but this would be a far larger red line to cross. But, you know, who knows? Why the hell would Israel do that? They're warmongering ethno-nationalist fascists, and Netanyahu wants to keep the war going. Because they're evil. Netanyahu's government, I should say, not the Israeli people. Only about half of the Israeli people are evil. Are they trying to goad Hezbollah into actually attacking? That's Lebanon, different country. But, like, I mean, this isn't going to help. Vosh, the Israeli population is pretty uniquely Hitlerite. Yeah, think of them kind of like the Russian population. Like, civilians are civilians, but they're subjected to a nonstop barrage of propaganda convincing them that being Hitler is the only way to be, you know? Biden absolutely would support Israel in a regional war against Iran. Look, I'm not going to argue. I'm not arguing this point. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I don't think anyone here, including myself, can fully appreciate just how destabilizing that would be. You know, we're talking about like an incomprehensible escalation that would be a net negative for literally every... Actually, there is exactly one entity that would benefit from this, and it would be the Ayatollah. That is it. Iran would never lose such a war. Maybe they wouldn't, like, make any gains, but they wouldn't lose Iran, you know? And it would legitimize Islamic rule of Iran for another fucking 50 years. How far are Iranian nukes? Nobody knows. We don't think they have them yet, but we're not exactly operating on the best intel. Netanyahu's government's also trying to draft Haredis, which is causing instability in the government. Yeah, the ultra-Orthodox. Man, this guy really doesn't want to go to war. If they have them, would Israel back off? I don't know. I'm not psychic. Israel is uniquely vulnerable to nuclear retaliation, though, because their nation is so small. Whatever nukes Iran will develop in the future will be small nukes, but Israel is small enough that you have a proportionally devastating target for nuclear reprisal either way. Iran, comparably, is a difficult target to nuke because a lot of it is just empty mountain ranges that are, you know, essentially nature's fortification. What are the odds that BB goes nuclear? Like, literally? I don't know. They're not zero. Would Iran give a shit about hitting neighboring countries? Yes, absolutely. 100% yes. Iran isn't just like North Korea or whatever. Iran has ties to a bunch of local countries, both to their governments and to like ethnic and martial groups within them. There's no reason Iran would want to destabilize those relationships by being gung-ho with their nukes. Anyway, I don't think things are going to go nuclear. If Iran nuked Israel, wouldn't that fuck over Palestine as well? You're making the mistake of assuming they would give a shit. Also, not necessarily. Also, if there was nuclear war, I think Israel would be the one to start it. I think that Israel is a less rational actor than Iran by far at this point. I think the Ayatollah and the revolutionary government of Iran are more rational actors. They've acted consistently in their own best interest, or at least pretty close to it for a while. Israel has literally just been like shitting the bed and tearing up the cushions for a while. It's insane. They're not even acting in their own best interest, really. It's just Netanyahu trying to cling on to power. That's the hope, Bolshevik. Yeah, fucking. How much support would Israel actually lose if they nuked someone? This is, again, I speak to my naivete here, but I think if Israel even tried to actually use their nuclear weapons, I'm thinking media blackout, 24 hours of silence, Shmeten Shmahu is in charge of Israel after the lights come back on. They're like, whoa, you know, Netanyahu, he fell down the stairs, we're really sorry. Hey, sorry, man, we're going to take the government in a whole new direction. You know, that's my hope. This might be like a pseudo-conspiratorial belief that I have in that it's a desire for there to be some control and order in the world, but I would like to believe with the immense power of the United States that we do have some kind of contingency for this behavior that isn't like, you know, just let them nuke the Middle East. That's like a hope, you know? Mossad is insane, but not suicidal. They could do it themselves. Oh, who knows? So if that happened, would we even know it happened? I don't know. We're really far into speculation territory here. I can't really say. I gotta say though, man, striking the goddamn consulate. Jesus Christ. Here, there's a video attached to the BBC article. Like, they really got him. Right next to the embassy. How many people hit? I think they said, like, I mean, everyone inside, I think. What's the difference between a consulate and an embassy? I could be wrong, but I think that an embassy is the like front-facing organization that you go to if you want to contact the agents of another government or if you want to do business with them, and the consulate is where the workers who are associated with the embassy stay to do like administrative or ministerial work. I think they get used pretty interchangeably. Yeah, I've heard them used in place of another. Like the embassy is like the official this is the place thing, you know? And the consulate is just a place where workers from a foreign government goes, you know? They struck the consulate, not the embassy, but the Iranian consulate and the Iranian embassy are right next door to each other. They're right next door to each other. Hold on. That nice building on the left, that's the Iranian embassy. They struck the consulate, not the embassy. I don't know why they would strike one but not the other. I don't really know what, like, legal line they're trying to walk here. I don't know. Embassies are in the capital, consulates are in other cities. Not necessarily. There are embassies outside the capital. Yeah, an embassy is officially foreign soil. A consulate is just where they work. What if this is American interest? I promise you it is not in America's interest to wage war with Iran. No matter how badly some people in this country might seem to want to, it is absolutely not in our interest. Not on any level. Not even remotely. Like not. This isn't even like a what if we're fighting for oil thing. You know, it's like just a total non-starter. I hope you're right, but again, Miller's press briefing on the subject doesn't give me much. Was there a recent one that you're referring to that I haven't seen? One sec. He's live right now. Oh, yeah, fucking link that. Yeah, what the fuck? Here? Why is this a purple link? Oh, wow, Rickroll. That's, oh man, that's so good, man. There we go.
Israeli government.
Not yet.
I won't. Never mind. Let's just start with Gaza. Two things. One,
this is the expression of a man who has to open a State Department press briefing with, let's start with Gaza. You know, this is the perfect expression to enter into that, you know, that realm with.
in terms of the Secretary
Come on, Vosh, it's April Fool's, go easy. Fine. Mods unban Michael Seraph.
his involvement or the State Department's involvement with this meeting, virtual meeting today, can you tell us with the Israelis about Rafah?
So the Secretary is at the White House right now, participating in the meeting with representatives of the Israeli government to lay out an alternative approach to...
Is a consulate a reasonable military target? No, it is like the least reasonable military target. It is like the most, like, instigatory but militarily ineffective target possible. It is like, it's remarkably so. Yeah, it's a civilian building, and it's not just a civilian building. It's like a government civilian, like, it's ridiculous.
Dealing with the remaining Hamas battalions in Rafah. When I walked out, the meeting had not yet broken, or at least I'm not aware of it yet having broken, and expect a statement from the White House upon its conclusion.
Okay. Well, was there anything specifically that the State Department wanted to convey, to get across to the Israelis in this
Does
meeting?
anybody have a timestamp for when they mentioned the attack on the consulate?
So I don't want to speak too specifically about the meeting. That is, it would be great if Hamas would stop hiding behind civilians and stop hiding inside civilian infrastructure, including hospitals. But two,
Inside the skulls of Palestinian children, right? It's very mean of them to hide there.
Points out what we have been saying all along, which is the need for Israel to have a sustainable long-term strategy when it comes to Gaza. That it's not enough to just clear certain neighborhoods or hospitals or any other geographic areas or buildings of Hamas. They need to have a long-term sustainable strategy that is not just a security strategy, but also a political...
Why do all American spokesmen look like greasy used car salesmen? I'm not joking when I say this, and I know chat's going to groan, but a lot of it is the poor fits. Look at this. Look at how this guy's fucking arm, the sleeve is sagging like this. Look at the bunching on the shoulders. Look at the collar gap while he's standing. Good lord. No, really, like, it gives the impression of a cheap suit, even though these suits aren't cheap, you know? It makes them look like used car salesmen. It doesn't make them look like statesmen. I'm not kidding. You only have to go back a little while. Here's Reagan, Ronald Reagan, okay? 1980s. Bam. Not a used car salesman. Instantly. Not to give credit to the man or whatever, but that's a properly fitting suit. He looks like a statesman. He looks, you know, official, officious. Right there. Easy. What's the difference? Higher on the trousers, better fit in the suit. That's it. He doesn't look like a cheap car salesman, you know? This is a recent development. Wow, let's re-elect him. Yeah. I'm not kidding, though. You can even see it with the more formal suits, like the worsted wool here. This isn't a great one, mind you, but still, a broader shoulder, you know, you can tell. There's a difference.
Strategy if they really want to secure the future of Israel against the terrorist threat that has to date emanated from Gaza.
Right. So you don't have any.
How do you dress nice while losing weight? Find pants that have drawstring, like drawstring waistbands. You can wear those forever and ever. Just find like 2 pairs of shorts and a pair of pants that work well there. You can wear those forever, basically.
Comment on what you've seen from the aftermath of the 2-week operation against the...
I want to see mention of the...
and then when...
itself against those opponents.
4415-ish is when it first gets accessed. Okay, 4415. But it shows how much time is left in the thing. So, okay, it says 57, so 4415 would be like 14 minutes remaining. Here, let's try here.
Plan that Israel is supposed to present to you.
Why don't we just wait? I think I've probably talked enough about these ongoing talks. Let's wait for what we'll have to say about them at the conclusion. Go ahead. Yeah.
Lebanon, you've been saying you are trying to resolve the issue on the northern borders diplomatically. You've been successful so far, but are you concerned that now it's been escalating for the last 2 weeks?
Conflict and what we're going to continue to for Gaza and the West Bank and the Palestinians, how to rebuild Gaza.
The U.S. ambassador met the KDP leader twice. So, do you have any concern that the election,
No.
Come back to you about. We could do. It seems like we could do the whole briefing on it. So we'll move on for now and then come back if there's more time. Go ahead. I promise.
Per the CBS 60 Minutes reporting that aired on Sunday, a first incident of Havana syndrome took place in Frankfurt with an employee of the U.S. consulate. This happened 2 years before the already known cases that occurred in Havana in 2016. Can you confirm there was an incident in 2014, at least one incident in Frankfurt, that led to apparent Havana syndrome symptoms?
So we have made it a practice to not confirm or comment on specific reports.
Okay.
Decision taken recently.
So I think it would be helpful to step back and put this in a little context. And the context is that the United States has a decades-long commitment to Israel's security. Israel is surrounded by entities that are sworn to its destruction, not just Hamas, but Iran and proxy groups that Iran sponsors, Hezbollah among them, who have repeatedly talked about their desire for the destruction of Israel. We believe Israel has every right to defend itself against those opponents, and we, to that end, have a long-standing security relationship with them where we provide them more than $3 billion annually in security assistance. Now, the way that works...
Israel made peace with almost all of its immediate neighbors. No, yeah, that's the funny thing, People talk about Israel being under constant threat, but honestly, up until Netanyahu's government, things had been kind of turning down, There had been improvements diplomatically. Even under Netanyahu's government, there had been improvements diplomatically because, other countries in the Middle East also kind of don't want constant permanent war. There are radical Islamist groups, a lot of them funded by Iran, but also, things have mellowed out, at least to some extent. But this is elevating everything. It's making it way more dangerous for Israelis.
I know you preface this in your question, but just for the benefit of everyone else, the way that works is we provide them with $3.3 billion a year.
I don't think I'm going to find the part with the
they don't always
consulate
draw
strike,
all of that
guys.
down in any given year, but they come to the United States, request certain defense articles. We make assessments about whether those are appropriate or not. We notify them to Congress in the regular course of business. And oftentimes what happens, let's say, just as an example, this is a fictional example, let's say they requested 100 planes. We make a decision, we notify Congress. That doesn't mean that they take 100 planes tomorrow once that notification has been given and once the approval has been given. They draw those down over time, and sometimes it takes years to fulfill those requests. And so those are the types of things that I see.
Is it me or is he nervous as fuck? To an extent, yeah. Nobody in the State Department is happy right now. A bunch of people literally resigned over what's happening right now in Gaza. They're not happy. They have to toe the line. They're government employees, after all, not ideologues or politicians. Their job is to represent the interests and will of the executive branch. They don't have they're not fully autonomous, So they're kind of in a position where they have to constantly defend lunatic shit, and there's not really anything they can do,
Wanting to go, bear with me. I know this is long, and then you'll have the opportunity for follow-up. Those are the types of things that often take years to fulfill, and they were happening before October 7th, and they have continued after October 7th. So what these are about, in many cases, are about self-defense, but also deterrence and replenishment. And so we make these in the regular course of business. And what I can tell you about them is that we follow the same procedures with respect to everyone that we do for every other country in the world, which is that we notify Congress. And in fact, since October 7th, we have gone above and beyond to notify Congress about these transfers. There is a statutory threshold where we are required to notify them of transfers. We have been regularly briefing the committees to make them aware of every transfer that we are making.
So I'm going to have to combine my questions now that you've taken up so much time for that answer. I understand.
I would apologize, but I don't think you'd believe it.
I'm just joking. Of course, take your time. I understand the fulfillment can take years, but are you basically saying that the authorization of the transfer coming in these recent weeks was a coincidence?
I'm not saying it's a coincidence that Israel has been engaged in a military conflict. And of course, when you are engaged in a military conflict, you deplete your military stocks.
So there was a request in recent weeks for the additional fulfillment of these particular weapons.
As is always the case, I'm not getting into the timings of exact requests from here. I'll be quick. But this is a process that we keep Congress fully apprised of, our relevant committees. But when you see these types of requests and when they get publicly reported, you have to remember that Israel is in an armed conflict and is expending a great deal of defense material, and some of that needs to be replenished.
Yeah, those civilians don't kill themselves.
Right. And my final thing on this is, like, Secretary and a lot of senior officials from this administration basically said far too many Palestinians have been killed. But when you go...
Is this not the lady that mentions the goddamn consulate attack? Are we never going to find that mentioned?
And we know that the administration's policy hasn't changed. It is not conditioning weapons to Israel. But when you go and make such an authorization of the transfer in recent weeks, even if the actual weapons transfer has been approved years ago, don't you think that is going to damage the weight of your word, your credibility, and basically your sincerity in saying that far too many Palestinians have been killed?
I do not agree with that at all. We have been very clear that we want to see Israel do everything it can to minimize civilian casualties. We have made clear that they need to do that they need to operate
banning the use of the word ceasefire from the State Department. It's the beginning of her questions. Neptune, you're really throwing me for a loop here.
To offer today.
Okay, two final things. This is about this is from last week about these authorizations of these bombs to Israel. They have been approved a long time ago by Congress, but looks like the State Department has decided to an assessment on how many civilians around that operation have been killed.
We do not.
Okay. Moving on to this strike, this suspected Israeli strike
in
Damascus. Do you have anything to say on this?
I don't. Obviously, it just happened in the hour or two before I came out here. We are in conversations with partners in the region, gathering more.
Yeah, he can't say anything because he hasn't been briefed on it. Like, the strike would have happened like right before he went out there. So he's not going to be able to say much on it.
Information, but at this point don't have confirmation either of the target or the responsible party.
Do you know if the United States was given a heads up by Israel about this?
Again,
that's always a really good sign, by the way, of how confident like we are in our greatest ally in the Middle East, that we're not only saying, yeah, we don't know what happened or how it happened, we don't even know who did it. It really signals the level of communication and trust going on between America and Israel, where, you know, I have a feeling that as soon as the strike was reported, there were a bunch of American State Department officials crossing their fingers and praying to God that it was ISIS or something, you know, and not Israel. Like, please God, let it be like that strike on the Soleimani Memorial in Iran. Please God, let it have been ISIS. Please don't let it be Israel.
We are gathering information. I don't have anything about the strike right now. I don't have anything beyond that to offer.
Okay. Do you have any concerns that this might sort of escalate tensions, which are already high? And in a way endanger the hostage talks in any way?
I don't want to, before we have gathered information about what exactly this was, I don't want to speak to it specifically, but of course we are always concerned about anything that would be escalatory or cause an increase in conflict in the region.
ISIS hates Iran, right? Yeah, ISIS hates everyone.
Has been one of the goals of this administration since October 7th to keep the conflict from spreading, recognizing that Israel has the right to defend itself from adversaries that are sworn to its destruction. But with respect to the hostage talks, there's no reason why this.
Yeah, he immediately pivots away from the topic. We're going to hear more stuff. We're going to hear more stuff about this in the future. For those of you who have only just come in, an Israeli airstrike destroyed an Iranian consulate, killing not only a bunch of civilians but also Senior Revolutionary Guard Commander Brigadier General Mohammad Reza Zahedi, who is he's got some big pants on him. A lot of badges on that uniform, you know, lots of medals. A senior commander of the Revolutionary Guard's overseas operations. Why? What do you mean why? Because it's fun. Don't be silly. Attacking a consulate while there's like a military leader there is a pretty big deal. Yeah, it's April Fool's. Come on, it's being silly. 17 minutes ago, top Iran general killed. Wait, a second separate one? Iran confirms top general killed. Yeah, the brigadier general, right? The same guy, I assume. There weren't two guys, two big pants guys in there at once, right? Why does it not say who it is? It just says, is there like a read more? It doesn't say who. I think they're referring to the brigadier general. See, it's right next to the embassy. Is Haaretz Zionist? Haaretz is like the best source of journalism that we have in Israel. I mean, like they have a bunch of different writers. I'm sure none of the writers in Haaretz believe that Israel should like not exist or whatever, but they do relatively good reporting considering the authoritarian crackdown. There were 3 high-level people in the building who died. Well, can you give me an article that says who those 3 high-level people are? They killed 3 generals? 3 generals? General Hossein Aminollah, Chief of General Staff, Syria and Lebanon. Major General Haj Rahimi, Commander Palestine. Oh, that's why. That's the excuse. Major General Haj Rahimi. Only finding information from the strike. What is with these news articles not having anything in them? You have to have news in the news article. Peaks in size news article. No news. These are all these were major IRGC commanders for Iran, proxy, Gaza, Lebanon, Syria. Could be a decapitation strike before main operation for the IDF. Yeah, that's what I'm. So they had intel in the consulate. Presumably, those 3 generals aren't there 100% of the time. They struck when they were there. PIJ leader might have been killed. Israel reportedly killed Ziyad al-Nakhala, the Secretary General of Palestinian Islamic Jihad, in a strike on the Iranian ambassador's residence in Damascus, Syria, next to the Iranian embassy. Oh, man. Okay, look, there are 2 reasons why Israel is doing this, okay? One of them is to prove that it can, and one of them is, as you said, a decapitation strike before, like, a real military move. Killing 4 leaders in a single strike, allegedly, apparently, they haven't confirmed Ziad al-Nakhala, his death. PIJ is the 2nd largest militant group. Yeah. Islamic Jihad. Yeah, Israel's having a bit of April Fool's moment. So Rafah is going to be leveled. This isn't really a Rafah thing. Guys, I don't know. I don't know what the immediate consequences of this would be. I mean, it could be just a flex, but I wonder if this is being done in preparation for something. We would know if the IDF was like lining up with Hezbollah or whatever. I'll cover it when I cover it, Dr. Strange. I'm white. I can pronounce it how I want, Spexman. Could Iran respond by intervening in Gaza? No. That would be an invasion of Israel, which would not be in their interest. Could this be a distraction from Rafah? Maybe. Yeah, to an extent. It's possible, yeah. That they want to sort of like finish the job and cleanse Rafah, but they want to do it under the cloak of a different like story, a different narrative, you know. Some other big event, kind of the way they did those missile strikes in Rafah right as the Super Bowl began, you know? It's possible. I don't know if that would be a main motivation, though. Could Iran respond with a bomb? A bomb? I don't know how much that would do. Genuine question. Iran gets openly bombed by Israel a lot. Why doesn't it openly attack back? As far as it knows, Iran just sticks to doing support. Because Israel is much, much, much stronger than Iran is in any kind of like direct exchange of conflict. Because Israel's backed by the entire Western world, and Iran is backed by... I mean, they might get some support from like Russia or China, but not to any meaningful, not in a way that would overwhelm Israel. IDF spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said the drone that hit the Eilat naval base overnight was made in Iran and the attack was directed by Iran. The drone was apparently launched from Iraq by an Iran-backed militia. This is a very serious incident. I don't know about this incident. Eilat naval base? I don't know about this incident. You're saying it's I don't think this is retaliation, though. It happened too quickly. They wouldn't fire a retaliatory strike and kill 4 like military leaders just like that, you know, like in like 5 hours or whatever. There have been unconfirmed reports of IDF troops removing minefields in the Golan Heights. Boy. I hope those are unconfirmed. Syrian and Hezbollah sources are claiming the IDF has begun to remove several minefields in the northern Golan Heights in a possible attempt to avoid a direct offensive against Hezbollah in southern Lebanon instead of bypass it towards central parts of the country. Boy. This is probably fake news. Anytime you see a war video, if they're doing like a clandestine military operation, why would they film it in broad daylight? That's fake. It is possible, however, that the broader claim is true, that they're trying to bypass the minefields, the effective DMZ. It's been geolocated to the Golan Heights. I can't verify that process. Will Biden support them if they invade Syria? I don't know. I'm not psychic. You're asking, every time you ask me a question like that, you're asking me to like stake my reputation and legitimacy on a claim that no one knows 100%. Look, the Biden administration isn't happy with what Israel's doing right now. I have a feeling they're going to get increasingly unhappy if they start making territorial gains. I mean, America shut that down in the past too. I don't know. I mean, maybe. If they killed 4 officials, then I'm almost 100% sure they're about to do something crazy. Yeah, maybe. Could this be an attempt by Israel to consolidate Western support? Possibly, but if they wanted to consolidate Western support, why would they act as the aggressors? Military, you know, doing a strike on a consulate and then clearing minefields to prep for an invasion, that's you being the aggressor. You know, the narrative that you would want is that, like, Hezbollah is invading you. You would want to, like, stage a false flag operation or something. It's not like it would be the first time Israel did that. Yeah, I don't really, but who knows? Like, they could just be going silly mode, you know? They could just be going maximum silly mode. They wouldn't invade Syria if they don't need to. They just killed Assad. Syria would collapse overnight. If they did a strike on it's different. Attacking Assad would be different than attacking the people they've been attacking. They can't just do that. I mean, they can do that, I guess, you know. But also, that's Syria. This is Lebanon, you know? Also, I really don't think that Israel wants to deal with Hezbollah and, you know, the coalition of forces in Syria at the same time. Guys, I don't know. This is potentially really bad. I don't see any official reporting on Golan Heights minefields being cleared, so I'm still not entirely, like, sure of that. I mean, we do have confirmation about the strike on the consulate, though, so... Guys, it's not the end of humanity. Will you all calm down? End of the world on everything with you people, honestly. Maybe Netanyahu is trying to instigate a broader war as a pretext for becoming a full dictator. I mean, yeah, possibly. Or something in that ballpark. Yeah, the strike was incredibly accurate. They didn't damage the embassy. Well, for some people, it's quite scary because they live in those areas. Okay, leaving aside my I guess, incredulity at the idea that those end-of-the-world posts are coming from people living in the Golan Heights or whatever, like, it's still not the end of the world, you know? People get that way anytime nukes are mentioned. Syria and Lebanon don't have nukes. Neither does Iran, yet. I'm trying to look for more information on this, but honestly, it happened too recently. I want to know more. Iran's Tasnim news agency said 5 people were killed in the strike in the consulate. Syria's Sana state news agency reported an unspecified number of deaths and injuries. So we do have confirmation of the people who have been killed, those generals, right? I just want to make very clear... Hold on. Al Jazeera, give me info.
We begin with a rapidly developing story out of Syria. Iranian state media is reporting that an Israeli airstrike has targeted the Iranian embassy compound in Damascus.
Oh, wait, you can't tell because I made it mono.
Several diplomats were reportedly killed in the attack. Reuters news agency says a senior commander of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, Mohammad Reza Zahedi, is among the dead. Let's bring in our correspondent, Zaina Khoda.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of official confirmation of one of the people who's died, but not all 3 of them. I want more confirmation on that.
Joining us live from Beirut, and this has just happened in the last few hours, Zaina. But what are you hearing? What more are you hearing about the attack and any reaction to it?
Well, this is very much a developing story. Like you mentioned, Syrian state television, as well as Iranian media.
I think those are the generals that have been killed since October 7th. Wait, that's it? If that's the case, the thingy lied. Are you telling me that the internet would lie to me?
Are reporting that the Iranian consulate was the target of an apparent Israeli strike in the heart of Damascus. Videos from the Syrian capital show a building right next to the consulate completely destroyed. And you do see as well an Iranian flag.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it broadly. Iran state media have confirmed the following Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps officials were killed in the suspected Israeli airstrike defense. And then it's these three right here. Haj Rahimi, Hossein Aminullah, and Mohammed Reza Zahidi, which is the one that I'm seeing said most often. But they're specifically referring to people killed in the strike. But I'm only seeing some sources that are saying 3 targets were attacked.
So this in itself is very significant.
Let's say until we get broader confirmation on that it's just the one leader that's been killed here.
Have serious implications, targeting a diplomatic mission which is supposed to be protected under international law. Now, Iranian state television is saying that diplomats were killed in that strike, but security sources have been quoted as saying that a top-ranking Quds Force commander, an Iranian...
Here's Iranian. So if you'll check the date, you'll notice that this date is not the date that we need it to be for this information to be relevant. Please make sure to check.
Commander in the Revolutionary Guards, Mohammad Reza Zahedi, was killed in that strike. He won't be the first Iranian commander or general to have been killed in recent months. Israel has carried out numerous assassinations in recent months, targeting Iranian commanders as well as those commanders allied with Iran. But no doubt the location, the fact that the Syrian state media...
Okay, Sharg Media on Twitter says that those 3 people died. One of the most popular reformist newspapers in Iran. Okay. And then on Twitter, they said this, translated, the name of the 3 martyrs of the Israeli attack on the consulate. Brigadier General Mohammed Reza Zahidi, Brigadier Hossein Aminullah, Chief of General Staff of IRGC Quds Force, and Major General Haj Rahimi. Okay, so a major Iranian newspaper is saying that these 3 were martyred in the attack. That seems like a pretty decent confirmation, even if it's not being discussed broadly. I guess we'll see in the future. Thank you, Comrade Robin Hood.
Iranian media are saying that a diplomatic mission was targeted. There is still no reaction, really, there's still no confirmation, if you like, from Iran on whether or not Mohammad Reza Zahedi was killed. But this is definitely...
This is a 2-hour-old video, so this information is out of date. That guy, 1 hour old. That guy definitely was killed.
Another blow for Iran in recent months.
Absolutely, Zaina. And as you've been saying and as we've been reporting for certainly since the war on Gaza began, but for years before that, the Israeli government and military have carried out assassinations.
Have we gotten confirmation on the Islamic Jihad general? No, I have not seen confirmation on the Islamic Jihad general.
Nations have killed senior members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, but have they ever carried out an attack such as this on an embassy building?
This is what is significant about this strike, and this is why it could have serious implications. It really crosses red lines. Now, how will Iran react? Many have said that Israel has been acting with little restraint, crossing red lines, because Iran's response has been restraint, whether it's Iran or whether it's allies in the region. You mentioned that Israel has been hitting Iranian and Iranian-linked targets in Syria for years now, preventing them from entrenching themselves militarily. But since October, since the war on Gaza, and since the group's part of the network of the so-called Axis of Resistance, which is led by Iran, opened fronts against Israeli forces to help Palestinians in Gaza, then we've seen an uptick of Israeli strikes in Syria, going after commanders, warehouses, really trying to degrade their operational capabilities. And when you take out commanders, like if indeed this is confirmed, Mohammad Reza Zahedi, then what you're doing is you're taking out liaison officers, the people who link...
Yeah, it's an insane escalation. I mean, I don't give a fuck that these dudes, they all seem fairly evil, but how do you justify attacking a goddamn consulate building? Yeah, I really can't wait to see the American, like Biden or the State Department be like, we support Israel defending themselves from consulate buildings. It's pretty bad. And somebody linked this earlier. IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi approved new plans of the Northern Command headquarters in Safed earlier today. The military says plan for continuation of the fighting were approved by an assessment of Halevi, the commander of the Northern Command, Major General Uri Gordian, and members of the General Staff, the IDF adds. So, Northern Command, that's Hezbollah. It's not surprising that they would continue military operations in the area because, you know, tensions are still high with Hezbollah. But it just really makes me wonder if this is like, if groundwork is being laid for greater conflict, you know?
All these groups together. Now, if you talk to anybody in Israel, what they will say is that they believe that Iran uses its diplomatic missions, whether in Beirut, whether in Damascus or elsewhere, for meetings, for planning meetings. They use it as some sort of a headquarters. So they, in one...
Yes, that is true. Government officials do sometimes use government buildings as headquarters to discuss things, you know? Much like how American military leaders and American political leaders will use American government buildings to discuss things. That is true. That does happen sometimes.
Way or another, trying to justify, targeting this building. But no doubt this is a serious development. There's already tensions across the region triggered by the war on Gaza. How will Iran react? If it does not react, then there will be no deterrence, and this could continue, and Israel will feel that it is able to take out whether commanders in Syria or in Lebanon. Just yesterday, there was another targeted assassination in the south of the country. A member of Hezbollah killed in that strike in southern Lebanon.
That's right, Zaina. And just as you're saying, you know, one of the biggest questions now is how is Iran going to respond? They have said many times since the war on Gaza began, and while members of their Iran...
Rocket alerts all over northern Israel, probably Hezbollah rockets. How many? This happens all the time. It might not necessarily be a significant reprisal. Town of Bet Sith and several other communities on the coast of northwestern Israel. Yeah.
Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps have been killed, that they will respond. Just how difficult a position does this massive escalation put Iran in, and how much more dangerous does this make the entire conflict spilling over Gaza's borders and into the region?
Well, no doubt, if they do not react and, you know, do not respond, then there will be no deterrence, and Israel will continue to carry out these targeted assassinations. But, you know, there are very difficult choices here. Let me give you just one example. The front, the South Lebanon, Northern Israel front. Hezbollah opened a front to help Palestinians in Gaza. It is targeting military positions of the Israeli army in the north of the country. It feels that it is putting a lot of pressure on the government because tens of thousands of people were forced to leave their...
Okay, here's another site saying that multiple leaders, and saying that the Islamic Jihad leader was killed. It just cites a tweet, though. I don't know if this is reliable. I guess we'll see if the Islamic Jihad leader was killed as well. You know, the Iranian media is claiming that there were the 3 leaders killed, maybe the Islamic Jihad as well. We'll see.
Homes in northern Israel. So this is added pressure on the Israeli government. Now, but if Hezbollah were to fire rockets, and it has the capabilities to do so, thousands of...
And it's OSINT, isn't that unreliable? Yeah, most of the OSINT accounts are like psychotic. You know, probably shouldn't trust them.
Rockets on a daily basis and hit Tel Aviv and hit Haifa, then Israel could also hit Beirut. It could also hit Hezbollah, areas where Hezbollah supporters live, leaving hundreds of thousands of people without homes. So these are very difficult choices, for Hezbollah or for Iran to make, because there's massive destruction on both sides. But again, there is this need for the deterrence in order for these targeted assassinations to stop. What we're seeing really is an uptick in Israeli strikes in Syria becoming more frequent. There was a strike yesterday. There was a strike 2 days ago or 3 days ago.
Iran could retaliate through proxies. Iran is going to retaliate. It has to. Promise a harsh response to strike on consulate in Syria. Isn't targeting embassies and consulates a war crime? I think it depends on the circumstances. I think you would have a pretty hard time justifying an attack on a consulate. It was filled with military leaders, but there often are military leaders in consulates and embassies. The White House did not immediately reply to a request for comment. That's not surprising. It's Sky News. Do you think Israel is biting off more than it can chew? That really depends on how far America goes to support them. Is it fair to say that even Russia never pulled any shit as blatantly warmongery as this? No, that's not fair to say. Russia invaded and occupied the Donbass for like 8 years, you know, supplying military equipment. Like, they've literally invaded and occupied part of Ukraine. It doesn't really compare.
In Aleppo, more than 50 were killed in Syria. Many of them were Syrian military personnel, and at least 7 of them were members of the Lebanese armed group Hezbollah. So Israel's strategy seems to be to try to degrade and weaken their enemies, whether it is in Syria, whether it is in Lebanon, whether it involves targeting commanders, whether it involves targeting what it says are military assets, warehouses. So this conflict really is on a dangerous and slippery slope, a conflict, you know, regional tensions that have been triggered by the war on Gaza. And as long as that war continues, then the tensions will only escalate, and there will be no...
Are Iran and Israel officially at war? No, trust me, you would know if they were.
...way to de-escalate this conflict because, for example, here in Lebanon, Hezbollah has made it clear they will not halt the fighting until the war on Gaza ends.
Zaina, thank you very much for that. That's our correspondent Zaina Khodr joining us live from Beirut with what we know so far. And we're joined now by Ali Vaiz. He's director of the Iran project at the International Crisis Group, and he's joining us live from Washington, D.C.
Is this more or less serious than when the U.S. killed Soleimani? I mean, they're not really comparable because Iran can't do anything to America. This is much more like regionally relevant. You know, this is part of an ongoing series of escalations. The Soleimani thing was like totally just out of hat, like yeehaw, howdy, howdy, wacky American behavior, which not to say it wasn't wretched, and very bad. It was, but it doesn't really contribute to any broader conflict between us and Iran. This, on the other hand.
Thank you very much for your time. From what we know so far, what you're hearing so far, what do you make of this attack on a building in the Iranian embassy compound in the Syrian capital, Damascus?
Well, it is possible that this was a response to an attack yesterday on a Israeli naval facility in the city of Eilat by potentially Iranian-backed Iraqi Shia militias. But even if that was the case, this seems to be a disproportionate response because targeting a diplomatic facility is akin to targeting another country on its own soil. And having killed senior commanders there, as well as Iranian diplomats, it seems to be a major provocation.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say when you mentioned the naval facility in Eilat. Naval is a military installation. This is a diplomatic...
Yeah, there is kind of a difference there, isn't there, if you think a little bit, between attacking a naval, you know, a naval facility and a consulate, just a little bit.
Facilities. Our correspondent Zaina was talking about how this conflict is on a dangerous and slippery slope. Just how much more dangerous has this situation become after this latest attack?
Look, overall, this seems to still be a low-simmer regional war. It's not yet an all-out regional conflict, But it does appear that Israel is trying to do everything in its power to expand the conflict, or at least there are some elements in Israel who see benefits, political benefits possibly, from expanding and prolonging this conflict by dragging Iran and Hezbollah into it. This is, at the same time, putting Israel in a really win-win situation, because Israel knows Iran doesn't want to get dragged into a regional war. And so if it escalates its attacks against Iranian assets and personnel in Syria, it probably would be cost-free. And if Iran does respond and retaliate, then it becomes a justified pretext for expanding the war.
Yeah, I mean, you say that Israel knows that Iran does.
I don't know if that's entirely true. I think that Israel is in a more precarious position than this guy is giving them, than this guy is acknowledging. Israel doesn't have like an unlimited military capacity. As many people as it drafts, like Israel is a small country. I mean, it has to an extent exhausted some elements of its, I know they needed resupply in their like Iron Dome armaments, for example. There are limits to its abilities. And I think that Israel in like a straight up one-to-one fight would beat any country in the Middle East. Like it could be worn down by constant insurgency and attacks and strikes and so on. The Iron Dome is very expensive to maintain. Very expensive to maintain.
Doesn't want to expand this conflict, but it has to respond, doesn't it? Several members of its Iranian Revolutionary Guard have been killed since the war on Gaza began, and now this attack.
That's right. And we have come a long way from the time that Israel wanted to target Iranian assets in Syria. It would actually give some warning through the Russians so that there will be no Iranian casualties or fatalities. Now we're seeing that not only Israel is almost on a weekly basis targeting Iranian assets, but is actually targeting to kill. And now has escalated significantly by targeting a diplomatic facility. But look, Iran, again, has plenty of experience with these kind of conflicts. And right now, its strategic interest seems to be in trying to prevent falling into this trap that it believes Israel has laid for it. And so if I wanted to bet, I would bet that a likely Iranian response is going to come through its proxies or its partners in the region.
That's
we
probably
might see
true,
attacks
yes.
on Israeli vessels in the Red Sea by the Houthis, or we might see resumption of attacks by Shia militias in Iraq and Syria on U.S. Facilities. But it's very unlikely that Iran would respond directly.
You said that in the past that Israel would give warnings, through Russia before carrying out such attacks on Iranian installations, on Iranian assets in Syria. Why isn't that happening now? And does it have anything to do with the fact that Russia has been very outspoken against Israel's war on?
I always hear about the Iranian Revolutionary Guard being this elite fighting force, but every time I see them in the news, it's just them dying. Well, I mean, a lot of, that's because it's just like drone strikes and missile strikes back and forth. It's not like it's on the ground direct military engagements. Iran fights mostly through proxies. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard isn't like, storming the hill or anything. Also, I don't think they're an elite military force, I think if there's one thing that the Iranian military and the militias that they support have going for them, it's that they're Islamist, martyring themselves is kind of like, it's what they do. They're probably a little bit more gung-ho than your average secular combatant, I'd be willing to guess.
Gaza.
Well, Russia's relationship with Israel has suffered since the Gaza war. There's no doubt about it. And there seems to be less deconfliction and coordination between the Israelis and the Russians. But this has more to do with Israel's own interest in trying to use the fog of war in Gaza to weaken Iran and its allies in the region as well. But also, again, this seems to be that the gloves are off right now because Israel believes that in any scenario, whether Iran responds or it doesn't respond, Israel stands to gain.
And lastly, Mr. Vyas, we've heard a lot from the United States, Israel's biggest ally, of course, about not wanting this conflict to expand. Do you see the United States responding to this latest attack in any way?
Look, the U.S. Position is that if Israel provokes a war with Hezbollah or with Iran, it's on its own. But if Iran and Hezbollah would target Israel in an unprovoked manner, then U.S. will come into the conflict to support Israel. The question right now is whether this line has been crossed through the recent attack, which again, as I said, constitutes a major provocation.
Mossad got him. They
That's
took out the
Ali
power.
Vaez of the International Crisis Group. Thank you for your time.
Well, I guess we'll see how this goes. There's not much else I can really talk about right now. Kind of a developing situation. I think I found a source about the PIJ head being killed. Strike, an Iranian member of the Revolutionary Guard, targeted a secret meeting. Was war in Gaza. The head of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Ziad Nakala, was in Iran. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see. If this escalated into a war, what would you say would happen if the U.S. intervened? I guess it really depends on the level of threat present to Israel. If we decide to get involved in a conflict between Israel and Hezbollah, we would probably park our ships on the Red Sea and fire inward. You know, we would do like bombing runs and air raids. If it was something like with Syria, we could fire in to an extent, right? Like we're getting kind of further from the coast. If it was something with Iran, which is very, very unlikely, I don't know. We're so out there into speculation territory, you know. Red Sea, not the Mediterranean. Oh, Mediterranean. Sorry. Yeah. When did you first become Iran pilled? I don't know what you mean by Iran pilled. I don't know. Maybe the secret to peace in the Middle East doesn't involve like constantly fucking agitating the most you know, regional power there. I don't know. Possibly, maybe, perhaps. You're saying peace involves not fighting? Yeah. I like your Iran cultural regional power supremacy takes. I just wonder if anything in particular helped you get there. Not really. It's just like, you know, you have to accept the world as it is. And from a sociological angle, you have to understand that, like, we're not invading Iran, conquering it, and building a new government. And even if we did, it wouldn't be a good idea, right? Like, what we want Iran to do is not be led by the Ayatollah. We want it to be led by a more moderate government. That would solve a lot of problems in the region because Iran funds so many militia groups, right? So we want Iran to change for the better. How do we do that? Probably not by constantly escalating and antagonizing and attacking them, right? I just like, yeah, you know, and a lot of other positions, like, you know, kind of go out from there. You know, there's a lot of stuff that follows from that naturally. Iran won't change anytime soon, so it won't matter. I wouldn't be so sure. The hijabi protests last year were like unprecedented in their size and scope. It led to a lot of government pressure, and the cracks, you know, which have been present for a long time, have grown larger in terms of the government's control. You know, I think that Iran is in a position where it could very well be made a better country. You know, better than the Ayatollah. But every time we do shit like this, or allow Israel to do shit like this, we increase the likelihood that the Ayatollah will be able to capitalize on it and sort of like you know, defend their existence. Not really, though. The Gulf states and Turkey still hate Iran. Fuck that. First of all, fuck Turkey. Nobody cares. Second of all, the Gulf states are just petrodollar, like, billionaire pedophile slave dens. I don't give a shit about the Gulf states. They don't even exist to me. I reject their existence. Pfeh. Ridiculous. Saudi Arabia isn't a country, okay? It's Saudi Aramco with borders, you know? Like, you're telling me the UAE... Have you seen the population of the UAE? It's like 500 people. Here, where's that goddamn chart? Where's that statistic? I googled it, but I can't find it. God damn it. Oh, here we go. Here's the UAE. More than half of the UAE is literally just slaves. That's the male surplus, this dark blue. There are like 3 times as many men as there are women, and a ton of them are just like people who are brought in to do construction as basically slaves. Like, these aren't real countries. They're just oil companies that have borders. It's like the UAE, fucking Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia doesn't even have real culture. You know that, right? They just make so much money off their oil that they pay everyone a UBI to shut the fuck up. Like that's it, literally. They don't even have a civil society. Your job as a citizen of Saudi Arabia is to keep the lights on and just sit and like collect checks so that you don't revolt. That's it. Netanyahu just banned Al Jazeera. I guess that tracks. Where will we get our Hamas propaganda now? Al Jazeera isn't perfect, but, you know. What media organization is? Me, yes, VoshGG. Thank you. So yeah, anyway, I don't care about the Gulf states. They don't exist to me. Yeah, Al Jazeera Arabic is fucking insane. Al Jazeera English is a lot better, I'd say. Not if you keep annoying me about it, Skynet. Wait, have you been annoying me about it? Let me see. Nah, not really. You're fine. God. Some more April Fool's Joker pill shit. Oh, hello, video. Israeli troops exit Gaza's Shifa hospital, leaving rubble and bodies. I guess the IDF has been too antsy to sit on their conquered territory, you know, just sit on their hands. So they went into Al-Shifa hospital and leveled it, apparently. 2-week operation by special forces who detained hundreds of suspected Palestinian militants and left a wasteland of destroyed buildings. I don't even understand what they're doing there. It's conquered territory, you know. It seems like they're just deliberately defacing it. Yeah, I think that is what they're doing. Like, it seems like the only purpose of their time there was to, like, the Al-Shifa hospital was, like, supposedly the headquarters for Hamas, which was a lie, obviously. Then they got there and they were like, oh, the real headquarters is this other place. So they just want to defile it because it, like, represented an opponent to them. I don't know what else. I don't know what other possible... Remember the terrorist tunnel 3D render? Yeah, they you know, this is actually from the red barrel room being ignited. You know, this wasn't the IDF. They ignited the red barrel room and it did all that. Israeli troops end Al-Shifa hospital raid, leaving behind bodies and a trail of destruction. That is a very aggressive title from CNN. Hello, CNN. How are we doing? The terrorist base in Shifa has been eliminated, IDF Minister Yoav Gallant said Monday, praising the IDF's determined and professional action. Medical crews are working to recover hundreds of bodies scattered across the grounds of Al-Shifa, with at least 300 bodies found so far, according to Gaza's civil defense. Determine the precise number of people killed is difficult because Israeli troops had buried bodies inside and around the complex and bulldozed nearby roads. So this was, I'm assuming, like, pardon me if I'm being presumptuous here, this was just the IDF, like, lighting fires, killing and raping people, whatever they want, right? Like, there was no, like, legitimate military need for anything being done here at this point. They had already taken the area, you know? This was committing crimes and then covering up crimes. I don't know what else they could possibly be doing here. You know, I'm happy to be proven wrong on this. Why else would you bury bodies as military, in a military operation? Since when do soldiers bury bodies? I'll tell you, when they want to hide people. That's what Russia did, remember? Yeah, we have reports of them throwing grenades into rooms they stuff with civilians. IDF spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said 900 suspected militants had been detained during its 2-week operation. More than 500 of these have been identified as members of Hamas or Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Hagari said Monday. I believe you, adding that some of those detained are commanders and significant people. CNN is unable to verify the number of bodies inside Al-Shifa independently because of the lack of reporting access in Gaza. CNN has reached out to the IDF on these figures, but has yet to hear back. Gaza's Ministry of Health said about 3,000 people were inside the hospital when the IDF began its raid on March 18th, the second of the facility in nearly 6 months of war with Hamas. After claiming its first operation in November had been a success, the IDF in January said it completely dismantled Hamas's command structure in northern Gaza, only for Hamas reportedly to return to the same site months later, sparking a renewed Israeli assault. How incompetent does the IDF, with all of its martial power, have to be to lose control over territory they've already claimed in an area this small? Like, at least the Taliban fled to the mountains outside of the the cities and would take pot shots from caves, right? Like, Jesus. Kader al-Zanun, a journalist from the official Palestinian news agency Wafa, also working for CNN, said the scene at Al-Shifa after the IDF's withdrawal was like a horror movie. Bulldozers crushed bodies of people everywhere around and in the yard of the hospital. Like, is there any military justification for this? Vosh, it's because of the tunnels. That's literally their purpose, to get under the IDF and get behind them. Yeah, I really don't buy that. I need, like, evidence of that being the case. And not just incompetence. They took the area. They can take the tunnels too. Did they not clear the hospital and find the entrances to the tunnels? Is it that difficult to block off areas or put guards or anything? I don't buy it. I don't buy anything the IDF says ever. The answers will always be malice or incompetence unless I'm given direct evidence otherwise. They have given plenty reason to assume that. And also, what explains the bulldozing corpses and burying corpses, you know? Palestinians began arriving at the destroyed complex to search for missing family members. We found entire families dead and their bodies decomposed in houses around the hospital. Like, what does that have to do with, like, they came in through the tunnels? What does any... It seems like every time the IDF does anything, like, all the evidence point to them just being wretched monsters who kill indiscriminately, you know, either for fun or out of fear. And then it's like, well, you know, they say that it was because of this. I'm going to need some evidence. Survivors in the complex are malnourished, he added, with some saying they had to share 1 bottle of water between 6 people every day. Like, where is this? Like, where does this come from? The situation's very bad, said Mahmoud Basal, a spokesperson for Gaza's civil defense, on Monday. Al-Shifa is completely destroyed and burned down. Many of its buildings are totally destroyed or charred. Images from the area show widespread destruction with charred and pockmarked buildings. More than 30 wounded people were transported from Al-Shifa to Al-Ali Baptist Hospital east of Gaza City. Several decomposed and disfigured bodies, partly buried beneath the rubble of what was once the structure of Gaza's largest hospital, can be seen in videos obtained by CNN. Heavy firing in the vicinity. One family said their home was shelled and that children, some still alive, were buried under the rubble. Military vehicles are firing at the hospital building's windows and at anyone who is caught moving between the hallways, said Hamada Abdelhabi, a displaced Palestinian man, CNN. Here's proof for that grenading room of kids and women thing. We just searched the word. It's from the UN Human Rights Commission. Oh, you mean Hamas? I remember this. This is from December. Yeah, this is older. The IDF allegedly ordered the women and children to a room, then shot at them or threw a grenade into the room. Yeah, I remember this. We've covered this before. Nazis were literally notorious for doing this to villagers in the Eastern Front. Monsters like killing people they think are subhuman. The IDF stressed that its operations in and around the hospitals were a, quote, precise anti-terror mission. See, it's like they're laughing at you. Like, the IDF is laughing at you when they say this. Like, they know what they're doing. They just know they can say anything because the America never calls them on their shit, and Western media, like, barely does, you know? Like, they're laughing when they say this. They're laughing at you. And that it has done its utmost to minimize civilian harm. The IDF returned in force to Al-Shifa on March 18th, despite Gallant in January announcing that the most intensive phase of operations in northern Gaza was complete. The United States, Israel's most dependable but increasingly wary ally. Okay, this CNN article is kind of nice. I like this one a little bit. I like the language choices, you know, employed in this one. Has repeatedly backed Israeli assessments that Hamas and other Gaza militants have used Al-Shifa as a command hub to hold hostages and store weapons. Jake Sullivan said that Hamas came back into Shifa after Israel's first raid last year. But the IDF's renewed assault in the complex raises questions about the viability of Israel's war aim of destroying Hamas. By late March, 70% of the population was suffering from catastrophic levels of hunger, according to a UN-backed report. Makes sense. Newsweek would say that. Anonymous platypus. Israel has created a new standard for urban warfare. Why will no one admit it? Opinion. Oh, it's an opinion article. Yeah, of course. This guy's like fucking Hitler-esque, yeah. Yep. Yep. Wary means cautious. No, wary means like cautious but resigned of as well. Like what they're saying is that America is growing less supportive of Israel's behavior. Not really? Well, yes, really. He said 200 militants and 2 Israeli servicemen were killed during the operation. Okay, again, I want you to, like, really think for a second, okay? So Hamas retakes Al-Shifa somehow. Okay, sure, fine. It can happen. Do you really think that they lost 2 Israeli servicemen killing 200 militants? That of the 200 people they killed directly, they were all militants, that those were 200 Hamas soldiers with weapons that they killed while losing only 2 Israeli servicemen, while also detaining 900 suspected militants? What seems more likely? That they fought off against 1,100 suspected militants and lost only 2 Israeli servicemen, or a couple Hamas people were in there who they killed, and then they also killed a bunch of civilians? and then buried them. Like, just like basic thinking here. Because this has always been the standard of behavior for IDF. If they can prove, well, they don't even have to prove it, really, but if there's just one Hamas surrounded by civilians, all of them are Hamas. Remember when they struck that refugee camp and killed, like, what was it, like 80 people? Because they had, there was one Hamas guy there. John Hamas, you know, remember? Any number of civilians that can be called Hamas will be called Hamas. It was a significant operation in terms of the blow that Hamas and Islamic Jihad suffered. Hamas said Israel detained 350 people from inside Shifa, including patients and displaced people, and dozens of others from districts nearby. Footage on social media, unverified by Reuters, showed corpses, some covered in dirty blankets, scattered around the charred hulk of the hospital, many of whose outer walls were missing. It showed ground heavily plowed up and numerous buildings outside the facility flattened or burned down. Yeah, truly a new standard for urban warfare. 2 Israeli heroes defeat 1,000 Hamaslings, exactly. Remarkable stuff. I can't scroll through these images. They're probably like dead bodies. I'm not doubting that there were Hamas present there, Comrade Robin Hood, because it's an insurgency group. I'm saying that the IDF is incompetent and will slaughter literally anyone and then say they were all Hamas after. It's almost like the past 4 decades of conflict in the Middle East have decisively taught us that fighting insurgency is a complete waste of time because it will never work, you know? You're not just fighting insurgency, you're fighting insurgency from people whose religious beliefs lead them to think that they go to heaven for being martyred in a holy conflict. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, you're it's a joke. You can, but it means killing them all. Yes, the only way really to get rid of Hamas is to exterminate all Palestinian people. And I think that the Israeli government understands this, and that's why that's kind of what they're gunning for. At the very least, to kick them all out. All right, that's enough Middle East business. Apparently, a lot of doctors and nursing staff were included in the recovered bodies. You mean Hamas doctors who did reverse medicine or something? Yeah. A spokesperson for Gaza's Civil Emergency Service said Israeli forces had executed 2 people whose bodies were found in the complex in handcuffs and used bulldozers to dig up the grounds of the complex and exhume corpses. Reuters cannot verify the allegations, and Israel's military did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Well, of course, the IDF is making it difficult for reporters to even go in there, remember? Remember what CNN said, that they couldn't access Gaza because of the IDF? Like, they don't want... Remember, some of the first people to die with the invasion of Gaza were Palestinian journalists. A bunch of airstrikes precisely targeting the family homes of people whose job it was to report on stuff going on in the Gaza Strip. Like, dozens of them dying right in the early days of the war, you know? people with bullet holes in them while wearing handcuffs is a pretty damning, you know, a proof of war crimes that can't really be argued against. But if no one's around to find the corpses... No, that bulldozing was verified by Israel according to AP News. Oh, the bulldozing, sure. I meant more the handcuffs. Israel acknowledges troops killed 2 Palestinians. Captured shooting in a Gaza beach. In a video, 1 man falling to the ground after walking in an open area, and bulldozer pushing 2 bodies into the garbage-strewn sand. Okay, nice. Cool. All right, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Please hope pill us with anything. I'm not your mom, all right? I cover the news. What is this? J.K. Rowling and arrest me challenge over hate crime law. Challenge Scotland's new hate crime law in a series of social media posts. Oh, this is so boring. Scotland's new hate crime law comes into force. Yes, please, drag it out into a big protracted trial that I can win inevitably because I'm a billionaire, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Whatever. And the law creates a new crime of stirring up hatred relating to age, disability, religion, sexual orientation, transgender identity, or being intersex. That does sound vague, though. Yeah, I prefer my American freedom of speech, but whatever. In England and Wales, they have that for race, religion, and sexual orientation, but not for transgender identity, religion, disability, or being intersex. Your free speech gave you Trump. Yeah, that's true. That's how it works. You know, there's not a rising tide of fascists over in Europe as well. J.K. Rowling is just turning into British libs of TikTok. Targeted Mridul Wadhwa for the heinous crime of spending decades of her life working to protect and uplift rape victims. Head of a Scottish rape crisis center said sexual violence happens to bigoted people as well. She has no gender recognition certificate, but was still appointed to a job advertised for women only. Time to be challenged on your prejudices, rape victims. What? What does this even mean? Is she trans? Was still appointed to a job advertised for women only. What? What is Blood waffling about? Honestly, I'm fine with this. The only reason J.K. Rowling had any, like, cultural pull is because by fronting as a feminist, she was able to, like, pull over, you know, Blairite, neoliberal, moderate types into being transphobic. The more she just openly becomes Adolf Hitler, the less effective she is in that wing. There's a reason why you basically never hear anything from TERFs, right? Like, the most politically active so-called TERF has been that Posey Parker person, and she's literally allies with Nazis. You know, it doesn't... The more crazy they get, the less likely they are to be able to do the thing that they are good at doing, which is pulling people over, you know, who are more towards the center. I don't know what this even means. You might notice, by the way, that if you look at J.K. Rowling's tweets, the tweets that she does like this, where she just does these random political attacks, don't get very much attention. The tweets that do get a lot of attention is when she responds to somebody shit-talking her with some smug Gen Xer, like, I'm holding a cup of tea in both my hands and I'm smarter than you bullshit, you know? Like, this person's being mean to me, but I've had to deal with stuff like this my whole life, da-da-da, this witch doesn't burn, that type shit. Those are the ones that get a lot of attention because those are the ones that have the broader appeal. The, like, really specific political shit, that doesn't have the same pull. I've seen her get ratioed a few times, which is pretty crazy considering her size. you know? They're also really annoying. Well, Gen Xers are annoying in general, sure, yeah. Yeah, I was literally about to say no offense, Mr. Slen, but you preempted me. I didn't want to call you out there. Not cool, yeah. Do you think she was always like this but quiet about it, or has she lost her marbles? I think she's lost her marbles to a large extent, but the underlying, like, ideological problems were always present, yeah. Anyway, the Scottish law stuff is super boring to me, especially because as an American, I don't really have much of an interest in defending it, you know? I don't really like the idea of the government being able to arrest you for, quote, stirring up hatred. Like, I don't know, maybe sometimes maybe. We've had this talk before. It's very complicated. It's very ideological. It's very in theory. It's whatever, you know? Yeah, it's a touchy subject, not just because it's sensitive, but also because it's fucking complicated. No. What is this? U.S. Customs and Immigration Services, or sorry, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services is introducing a third gender option, also known as Twitter, defined as another gender identity. Today we published the new edition of Form N400, the first form to include the X gender option. This option will become available in additional forms. We revise them. Well, that's cute. I don't think the official Twitter account of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration would do a April Fool's joke, though maybe they are, you know, whatever. Yeah, I can't believe they chose X, the Twitter letter. Why they do this on April Fools? Bureaucracy has no mind for your pithy joke holidays. The quote tweets are insane. Oh, I'm sure. I didn't post anything to Insta, Lilycrem. I've noticed basically all comment threads are clan rallies now, Vosh. It's hopeless. Quit whining at me. It's not hopeless. The blue checks get thrown to the top, and also, like, if you're looking at political shit, yeah. But there were literally, like, pro-trans tweets that were getting 250,000 likes on Trans Day of Visibility, you know? Your face is so red. Why do you keep saying that? Is it you specifically who keeps saying that? I'm finding it out, and if it is you, I'm banning you. Your face is red, very red, no, just red. Your face is so red it's almost Why? Why say that? Why is your face so red? What are you talking about? Get out of here. Go. Shoo. Why? Quit making me look at the fucking OBS preview window. Like, fucking sunburned or something? No, I'm not. I'm chill. I'm chilling. Please no perma. I just muted them for a day. You look pasty as ever. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. Okay, moving on. What's on the list? Oh, yeah, I saw this. Hold on. Okay. We were talking about America. Okay, let's stop talking about Israel and Scotland and start talking about America, the country that matters. All right? Have you guys seen this? 12 million views. Some of you have. Absolutely remarkable.
Hey Madison, what kind of car do you drive and what is your car payment?
I drive a 2024 Jeep Compass Latitude and it's $598 a month.
Hey Rick, what kind of car do you drive and what is your car payment?
I drive a 2020 Wrangler Sport, the 75th edition. I think I pay $800 a month.
$800 a month.
Hey Murad, what kind of car do you drive and what is your car payment?
23 Dodge Charger.
$858.
Hey Jose.
Yeah.
What kind of car do you drive and what is your car payment?
2020 Charger, $650.
Hey Wesley. Hey. What kind of car do you drive and what is your car payment?
I drive a 2024 Power Wagon, and it's $1,000 a month.
This is, dude. When I see stuff like this, I'm gonna start siding with the neoliberals who think the economy is perfect and that actually, like, there's no such, like, the recession doesn't exist and you're all just bad at making decisions with your finances. So, like, are they rich? There are a lot of Americans who dump a huge amount of money on fucking useless shit. Car payments, my God.
Hey, Dustin, what kind of car do you drive?
This is a Power Wagon. You can tell by the name that it's going to be a wretched car. Yeah, the Child Killer 8000 or whatever. Jesus. My urbanist opinion is that I think that we should just go door to door and arrest everyone who owns a car like this, you know? Full on, like, beginning of Inglourious Bastards. You know, can I come inside and have a glass of milk? Ooh hoo hoo, you know. Meanwhile, the like Dodge Ram owner is quivering in the basement. You all need to go to jail.
And what is your car payment?
That's a bingo. Yeah.
Oh, a 24 rounds, so it's free.
Hey, Taylor, what kind of car do you drive and what is your car payment?
I drive a 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee Overland, and I paid $12.98.
To jail. To jail. Straight to jail. You know that, like, in China or in Europe or whatever, you can get, like, a nice, high-quality, relatively new car for the American equivalent of $10,000? Like, it's just over here in America, every year, they're like, what if we made every car 10% bigger and cost 10% more? And it's like, yeah, sure, whatever. But you literally, like, it's just over here for some reason. That's why, like, you can't get foreign cars over here in a lot of cases, or at least it's difficult to. These people will be drowning in debt their whole lives. Honestly, they deserve it. Fuck them. Fuck them. Car dealers are all sociopaths, man. That is also true, yeah. I mean, Annie, you can, like, we know these are irresponsible buys. I mean, I guess if they're all wealthy or whatever. What's your monthly car payment? I don't have a monthly car payment. Are you fucking kidding me? I drive an old used car. Like a fucking socialist.
Do y'all want to know what is worse than my Tahoe payment? You guys thought that was bad.
Unbelievably Hitlerite vibes from the appearance of this individual.
Wait till you hear this one. It's my husband's truck. My husband drives a 2020 GMC AT4 Sierra 1500. We bought it in August of 2022. Financed it for $78,000. He still has a remaining balance of, I think it's $72,000 or $74,000. I haven't really checked recently. His payments are $1,600 a month. So y'all thought my $1,400 Tahoe payment was bad. His truck payment.
I just know for a fact that people like this are complaining about Biden's economy. I know for a fact that people like this couple, obviously they're Hitlerites. Obviously they vote Trump. They're going online and they're like, under Biden's economy, I can barely afford groceries because of my payments, and they're paying $3,000 a month on their cars.
Payment is $1,600 a month with an APR of 14%. So yeah. Y'all stop coming after me for my bad finance decisions and go after him because he fucked up too.
Jesus Christ.
Too bad he didn't buy his truck for him. I did. So yeah, I messed them both up. Oops. So maybe we should just let his truck get repossessed and keep the Tahoe.
I'm becoming sexist. I'm becoming more sexist. Sorry.
Because a $1,400 Tahoe payment is a whole lot better than a $1,600 truck payment. Or maybe we should just let them both go back because we have the Audi now and don't need either of the car payments.
Nice. She a QAnoner? She is a QAnoner, yes, 100%. I observed her skull shape, and I am confident that she does in fact believe in QAnon. 100%. Like, not a single doubt in my mind. She got rid of the Tahoe? Was this the TikTok? You know the TikTok? Oh, it's gonna autoplay when I open...
Well,
After 3 years with my Tahoe, I am finally getting rid of it. Let me tell you why. So 3 years ago, if you're an OG on my TikTok, you know that I bought my Tahoe.
Also, in case you didn't know, a Tahoe is obviously another super giant, disgusting mega SUV that serves no purpose other than to murder children. Like, obviously. All new cars in America look like this. Right now, for Europeans watching who don't know, if you go to a car dealership and you ask for any car smaller than this, they shoot you. They shoot you right there on the spot, and they're legally allowed to do that, okay? They just kill you right there. Do you have any proof that they're conservative other than they look conservative and have a big car? That's all you need. 100% guarantee right there. Yeah, that's all you need. What else do you think I have? We just watched the same video. What other information is there? It's similar here in Canada. Canada has the same problems with car culture as America. People just talk about it less. Do you have any recommendations for a first-time car? No, I'm not a car person. I don't really know. Just don't get one of these, okay?
For a lot of money. And I love this car. There's nothing wrong with it. It's perfect. Everything about it is just, it was my dream car. It is my dream car, and I absolutely
sickening.
Love it. But I messed up 3 years ago when I bought it. So I bought my car and I financed it for $84,000, which was fine, you know, 3 years ago.
Good Lord.
I have been making $1,400 a month payments for the past 3
Biden's
years.
economy.
And if you do the math, you will see that $1,400 a month payments in 3 years should be around $50,000 worth of payments. Yeah, well, I've only paid off $10,000 of the balance. So my $84,000 car that I bought 3 years ago is now still at a balance of about almost $75,000. And honestly, that was
there should be like 4 kinds of cars, okay? There should be sedans, subcompacts, station wagons for the family, and tiny Japanese beep beep 2-seater trucks that are smaller than the fucking sedans, okay? Those are the only types of cars that should exist. Prius? Aren't Priuses generally sedans? Or subcompacts? What about the tiny Japanese beep beep 2-seater roadsters like the Cappuccino? Japanese car Cappuccino. Yes! Can you imagine how much better American car culture would be if it was all shit like this? Cars that weigh like 5 pounds, you know? Look at how small this thing is. Look at that. Jesus Christ. Hell yes. Okay? As long as there's leg room. Okay? Just make sure there's some leg room. Beep beep. And headroom, don't forget. Yeah, of course. You'd get turned into mush in any accident you get into? No, you wouldn't. That's a myth. The only reason people say that about small cars is because they think you're going to be running into big cars, you know? If both of the cars that collide into each other are the same size, then the relative energy, as long as they're both like, you know, have the same safety standards and whatever, you know, it's safer for everyone. Plus, if you hit a pedestrian on this, look, if you hit a pedestrian with this car, it would just bend their knees. Look, you know, like if you hit a pedestrian here, they wouldn't just like go over the top or whatever. They would like to tip, you know, they wouldn't go under the wheel. They would live. If this hit you, you could simply like tank it, you know? Smaller cars have shorter braking distance too and less mass, meaning more agile, more maneuverable. Yep. Mm-hmm.
My mind that I have paid $50,000 into this car and have only paid off $10,000.
Biden's economy.
So Friday, your girl is getting a new car. And honestly, at first, I was scared and didn't know if I was making.
I know that this specific video might be rage bait. Like, she looks stupid. She has, like, the lip filler and the eyebrows. She has a fake tan on, and she's talking about her horrendous financial decisions. Like, this could just be rage bait, but there are a lot of people who do this shit.
Decision, and I had to think about it a lot and weigh my options and think about the pros and the cons. And honestly, today I just feel very content with my decision. 3 years ago, I was in a mindset of where if I wanted something, I was going to get it, no matter what.
Yeah, Japanese tiny beep beep truck versus the Ford F-150. They both have the same exact bed size, but this one's a child killer, and this one isn't. Give me the beep beep. Yeah.
It was, no matter what I had to do, no matter how much I had to pay, I would work and get the money that I needed, and I would buy it. Well,
The F-150 looks cooler, though. No, it doesn't. No, Ford F-150s are ugly, too. Even from a purely aesthetic perspective, they're just ugly brick cars. They don't look good at all. They look stupid.
I'm not in that mindset anymore. Materialistic things used to be, like, so important to me. Like, I had to have the best of the best of everything.
American.
And honestly, I am nowhere near that person anymore. Like, I make a good amount of money and I support my family, but like, why?
What are your thoughts on motorcycles? Motorcycles actually just should be banned. They are like 50 times more dangerous than driving. No joke. They should just be banned, you know? I can accept like mopeds, right? There are things like motorcycles at various speed limits that I can accept, but motorcycles literally should be illegal. Like, there's no reason that should be allowed.
Have I been paying so much for a car that I don't drive all the time? I only drive it when I go to work or when I'm doing something. Obviously that's what a car is for, but like, I could be using that money towards so many other things. I could be saving it, I could be using it on vacations, I could be using it to buy stuff that are more relevant.
Who's more of an asshole, motorcyclists or truck drivers? At least truck drivers serve a fucking economic purpose. Motorcyclists do nothing but pollute the road with their goddamn noisy ass fucking, because they always take the mufflers off because their dicks are tiny and they're incredibly fucking dangerous. No. It's not the fault of motorcyclists that they're... Yes, it is. You're driving around in a motorcycle. That is dangerous. People get so defensive about their motorcycles. It's such a, like, status symbol thing. Motorcycles take up less space than cars, though. Yeah, which isn't, like, you know, you could save weight in a car by getting rid of all the safety features. You know, like, whatever. About the argument the higher death rates for motorcycles is because the ones who drive them are more likely to be reckless. Well, yeah, we know they're dumb. They're riding a motorcycle. But also, I don't know if you noticed, but motorcycles have slightly less in the way of, like, safety protections than cars. Obviously. Gonna have to disagree with you. Motorcycles are the most efficient way to move one person over any distance. No, a bicycle is. Or a bus. Well, I'm, you know, like single person or whatever. Motorcycle is the most efficient method to move one person from Earth to heaven. That's true.
Or, you know, putting it towards my family, investments, whatever. And the fact that I've blown $50,000 so far on something that's nowhere near getting paid off stresses me out. And I'm really happy for myself because that is growth. I'm so glad that I don't really care about materialistic things anymore.
This still really feels like just pure rage bait to me. Like this exists exclusively to make you hate her.
And like, I just am really, really excited for this. So on Friday, the Tahoe's gonna be gone, and I'm gonna be done with it, and your girl's buying a new car, and we're paying cash for it. So I'm gonna have 0 car payments. And that makes me so happy because I am so excited for the freedom of no longer having a car payment. So the $1,400 that I was spending every month on my car, I can now put to something else. And if I have any advice for anyone that's thinking of buying a car or buying anything, honestly, and that is going to be making payments on it, my advice is not to do what I did because it is not worth it. Do not pay so much for something that is so irrelevant.
A bunch of divorce attorneys are saying this woman should get help from these videos. I don't think these are real. I think it's just rage bait. It's just pure rage bait, you know? Can I drive a moped as a Vashite? Yeah, mopeds are cool, because that's the you know, because they're cool looking. American car culture is so fucked, man. Top selling American cars 2023. All right, let's do the rundown. Top selling cars in 2023. All right, what do we got? Ford Escape, Subaru Forester, Mazda CX-5, Jeep Wrangler, Subaru Crosstrek, Subaru Outback, Toyota Highlander. We haven't seen a single sedan yet. Ford Explorer, even getting bigger. Oh, wait, does it count as a sedan if it has 4 seats? Or is a sedan only 2 seats, or does it just mean like, okay, a sedan needs 2 seats, so then this would be a subcompact, right? Or two doors. No, wait, okay, 4 doors makes it a sedan. 2 is the coupe, right? Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Okay, so this is a sedan then. Sedan means 4 seats. A coupe is 2. Okay, thank you. Yeah, okay. Sedan. There we go. We found a sedan and another sedan. Nice. Hyundai Tucson. Toyota Corolla. Another sedan. Nice sedan. You know, there's the truck. Toyota Tacoma. Grand Jeep Cherokee. Some Rogue. Toyota Camry. I'm waiting for the 150 drop, you know? Tesla Model Y, fantastic. Toyota RAV4, Ram pickup, Chevy Silverado, and the Ford F-Series, far and away the most. 750,000 sold. Like a $250,000 more than the Chevy Silverado, which is also a colossal, like massive child-killing truck. Incredible. The Ford F-150 has been the most popular car for 50 years straight. Yeah, but the Ford F-150 didn't used to look like this. Here we go. Like, here's the Ford F-150, like 50 years ago, you know? 2 seats. This is more defensible. Man, dude, remember when cars could be more than one color? Wasn't that nice? Wasn't it cool? Seriously, who hates this? What led the entire car industry to decide that one single color was all a car needed? It didn't used to be like this. Why is everything getting worse all the time? Even here in the 90s, you have the stripe. But now it's gone. Look, even here it's like relatively small. But then you get in the past 20 years and it's like and that's fucking colossal. It's because they paint the whole body at once now to save cost. Yeah, but it's like a $70,000 car. Top 10 best-selling cars in Europe of 2023. The Tesla Model Y. Well, these are a lot smaller than the American cars, at least. I like the for tiny cars that are like readily available in America. I like the Mazda Coupe. You can get it for like 28,000 or something. It's cute. The MX-5. Beep beep. Beep beep. I like it. I think it's cute. Soft top. Well, that's a choice, you know, whatever. That's a Miata, not a Mazda 3. These are the Mazda MX-5. Just to reiterate, do you think there's a solution for people who want to get those expensive cars on payment plans other than make better choices and buy less expensive ones? No. Make better choices and buy less expensive ones. Please. There's no... You don't need... First of all, you don't need a new car. You don't. You don't need a new one. Like, I'm not even, like, buying used. You can buy cars that aren't, like, current year, but aren't used. That's possible. It can be done. It's not undoable, you know? And a lot of used cars are fine. Like, used cars get a shady reputation because there are so many places you can get them. You can get a used car that isn't shady, you know? It's not that difficult. Well, you need a reliable car. Cars have been reliable for 40 years. Seriously. Like, modern... As long as you're not doing some weirdo, like... copycat Russian whatever, like main cars, like cars that are made by companies that you know about, for the most part, like cars have been reliable for decades. Cars rarely break down. Tell it to Hyundai and Kia. No, I'm not saying that it's impossible. No, I'm familiar. I know, Tempest. I'm saying that, like, under good circumstances, if you get, like, just a well-maintained used car, cars are more reliable. I feel like a lot of people are still, you know, they think of, like, junker cars from, like, 70s or 80s or whatever, where it's like, yeah, cars didn't used to be, you know, built as well as they are now. Tempest recently got a used car that, like, fucking exploded immediately, and, he had no recourse but to, like, donate it, like, the part of it that didn't explode. I'm saying exploded euphemistically, guys. People treat their cars like shit. Yeah, how often do you guys actually get your oil changed? Be honest. Come on, guys. How often do you get your oil changed? When was the last time you had your wheels rotated? How often do you pour coolant in? Come on, come on. I change mine yearly. Okay. Once a year? Really? Okay. Whatever. Whatever, man. Once every 1 or 2 years? You know, it doesn't take long, right? And if you do it yourself and you do what you should, which is dump the used motor oil directly onto your lawn, like, you can do it like pretty easy. Once a day? There we go. Once a day. That's what I want to see. Most people don't drive more than 5K miles a year. I guess that's true. I could be biased from my LA upbringing a little bit. Pretty sure most things are based on mileage, not time. Yeah, but a lot of people don't, like, keep track of their mileage, so I'm just... Yes, please don't actually dump your used motor oil on your lawn. Bring it to the same place you bring your empty car batteries, the ocean, and dump it there. Lamau, that's not true. More like 12K plus an average. I mean, it depends. Depends. I'm directly into well water. Yeah. Can you still change the oil on modern cars yourself? Yeah. You're supposed to change your oil every 12K kilometers or once a year, whichever comes first. I heard 6,000 miles, not 12K kilometers, but I mean, whatever. It varies. It varies. Cars are so expensive to maintain, though. They're really not, though. Cars are expensive to maintain if you don't maintain them. As long as you keep the coolant topped off, and you change the oil, like, you know, regularly enough, you don't get those bigger issues. Like, all the other issues you get with, like, your radiator and your transmission and everything, like, those can be because you're not topping the oil off or whatever else. Yeah, no, I know Girl with Guitar. It's pretty funny. Wheels are the biggest killer. I mean, it depends on where you're driving, you know? Is there a mandatory car checkup in the US? Depends on what state you're in. Also get car washes. I've never gotten a car wash. I reject this bourgeois ornamentation, you know? I have a druidic car, you see. A whole forest is growing on it. Also, it rains in Seattle. Cars are expensive. I mean, yeah, but can't you get a pretty good, like, let me think. If you were getting, like, a Toyota, car lineup, just currently available, things that are still sold officially, okay? A Toyota Camry base MSRP is $26,000, and that's a 2024 model, you know? Four-seater sedan, you know, you can get a lot done with that, just a base Toyota Camry. The problem is car costs keep going up and up. APR? Well, I mean, that depends on you, right? But, like, it's $26,000. That's pretty cheap for a car, yeah? And that's the 2024 one, right? Like, what if you went further back? You might not be able to see that in the website. That would be like you go to a dealership and it's like, oh, we have a 2023 or 2022 model. A Corolla Hybrid starting at $23,000, hatchback $23,000, 2024 Corolla $22,000. Toyota Corollas are the true dad vehicle. I mean, you know, if they're effective and they do what they do, right? Toyota certified used vehicles. Okay? Toyota wants to know my location. Nice try, trying to dox me. Okay, looking at, like, the local used. Yeah, there's stuff that's around 20K here, but there's also stuff that's like 50K, you know? It's just a matter of, wait, what if I, like, search for cheapest? What's the cheapest ass used car that you can get in the whole fucking state of Washington? Let's see. Maximum price, 25,000. Line that shit up. Gold certified, 20,000, 21,000. Yeah, you could get this. I'm not saying, oh, here's some for 19,000. A 2015 Prius. Look, all I'm saying is that don't feel pressured to go out there and buy, like, the shiniest car. Oh, this one's 13,000. An XB base? What? Based? Fucking based? Based? Okay, this car is ugly as shit. No wonder they're selling it for so little. Look at this. Oh my god. You'd have to pay me to drive around in this. Fuck. Yeah, those are Scions. Yeah. Yeah, I'm seeing some, like, you can get used cars directly through the car dealership and not just through secondhand dealerships, and you can usually find stuff that's in the ballpark of 15,000 if you're willing to, like, look a little bit, you know? That's not bad. Like, in a lot of places, you need a car to get around in America or Canada or whatever, so better to get a car that doesn't fucking bankrupt you forever, you know? Look at the Nissan Cube. I know what the Nissan Cube looks like. No, I think the Kia Soul looks much better than other Cube vehicles. I think the Kia Soul has always been like the gold standard of Cube vehicles. I don't know why the Kia Soul is the only one that doesn't look wretched to me, you know? I think that the Kia Soul looks kind of cute, to be honest. This isn't a good photo. Let me find a good photo. It has a good vibe, yeah. It's called the Soul because it's a, you know, it's a spiritually you know, the chi energy that radiates through it is good. Also, look at this color scheme, huh? Bi-tone with like a rusty orange. That doesn't look half bad, huh? It's way too big. The Kia Soul's not that big. It looks big because it's a cube, but it's not that big. How much is a Kia Soul? I don't know. Here's some people standing next to one. You can see it's like actually a pretty small car. How much for a Kia Soul? From 20,000. They're super cheap. Kia Souls are a pretty budget car. From 20,000, a 2023 Kia Soul, 19,890. Pretty good. That's pretty good. I've heard a lot of good stuff about the Kia Soul. I don't know anything about cars really, but I've heard good stuff about it. Also, I think it's cute, which is also good. They're so easily stolen to Lamau. Oh, I have heard that. Yeah, that they have issues with getting stolen. Like they're easy to a hotwire or something. I don't know. You look into it. Just look into it. You know, don't do anything just off what I say. Just look into it. Okay. Hyundai Porter 2. All vehicles should be this. God, I wish these were legal in America. Really, Ultrasac? That sucks. I'm sorry. So it's free? Yeah, the Kia Soul is free if you can find one, basically. They aren't? Why wouldn't this be legal? I'm pretty sure that like it's not that they're illegal, it's that there are like tax limitations on there. Okay, there's a thing, okay? There's something about like importing them or how they're sold or something. Chicken tax. There's a thing, okay? Just take me on that. There's a thing. We need to move on. Look at this thing, the Nissan S-Cargo. S-Cargo. This is the future of vehicles, folks. Look at that. Look at that. Oh my God. This, okay, rip in peace, Toriyama. This is a Dragon Ball car right here, okay? This is some shit Bulma and Goku are zooming through the jungle on. They really called it the S-Cargo because it looks like a snail. Yep. Look at the rear view. Isn't this fucking crazy? Look at that, dude. This is such a Dragon Ball vehicle. It's so cute. Isn't it? It's also like really efficient, right? Like think about it. If you're just driving in the city and you're just like groceries or whatever else, like yeah, 2 people up here. There's a fuck ton of cargo space. This thing probably takes like very little gas to move around because it's so tiny. Beep beep, you know? Beep beep. Yeah, it's like a Fred Flintstone kind of car. You just put your feet through the bottom of the, you know, and just walk around. A Nissan S-Cargo. 11,455. Oh, but these were only manufactured in the late 80s and early 90s, so you'd be getting a very, very used one. But you can get it for not that much. They should have kept making them. Okay, dude, some of these are actually so cute. Oh my God, look. Look at this, like peach-colored one. That's so nice. I love them. No, we have to stop. We have to stop with the cars. We have to stop with the cars. We have to stop. We have to stop. We have to be responsible and stop talking about the cars. We have to be responsible. No, we don't. Yes, we do. Okay, hold on. Okay, slight change in topic here. Okay, a little wacky. Hopefully you'll forgive me for this. Hold on 1 second. So I saw this post on Twitter, which is how all of my segments start, at least in concept, that I thought was interesting. So, you know Korea? You know how Korea has a bunch of social problems that we talk about from time to time? I don't think I've ever talked about Korea in a positive context, really, because, like, so much is going wrong over there, you know? Here, look at this. Over 150 elementary schools have no first graders in South Korea. A total of 157 elementary schools in South Korea do not have any first graders set to enroll in March, the Ministry of Education said Monday, as a record low number of new students is expected for the upcoming year. They're not having kids over there. They're not having kids over there, like, at all. Their birth rate is the worst in the world, I think. I'm pretty sure. It's insane. 0.81 births per woman in South Korea in 2021, and I believe it's gotten lower than that. South Korea has projected its fertility rate is likely to fall further to 0.68 in 2024. 0.68. Good Lord. That's like a third of replacement rate. At that rate, like, Korea is going to disappear in like 2 generations, basically. God damn. Yeah, here you can see the world average and all these different lines. For the 6th consecutive year, South Korea has recorded the world's lowest fertility rate. That is wild. Yeah, North Korea is going to win the war. Purely by, like, the great replacement is real, but specifically in the context of North Korea and South Korea. You know, they're simply going to overwhelm them population-wise. Yeah. 2.1 is replacement rate. No, that's what we're talking about, Tempest. So yeah, this is pretty weird. This is pretty wacky. They're just not producing children. And over here, this is the tweet that I saw it from. The 4B movement in Korea, which is basically like, sure, Twitter, I didn't want to see that image anyway. Oh. Thank you, Twitter. Really appreciate you coming through for me there. The 4B movement is a feminist movement that originated in South Korea in 2019. The movement's members, or 4B, renounce 4 major activities: sex with men, child-rearing, dating men, and marriage with men. The 4B movement is also known as Bihon, Bichulsan, It's 4Bs. That's why it's called the 4B movement. The refusal of heterosexual marriage, childbirth, romance, or sexual relationships. The movement represents a radical escalation of the gender war by seeking to create an online and offline world devoid of men. So this is essentially just South Korea's their own version of political lesbianism. Now, political lesbianism was very cringe, as far as I'm concerned, over here in America, because it's essentially just, women going their own way. You know how men going their own way, that, like, brief and kind of doomed political movement where men were like, women suck and marriage is a bad deal for men, so we're going to skedaddle, you know, and then those women will come crying back to us and then nothing actually happened. Political lesbianism was that, but in the opposite direction. It was very sad. You can look into its history. I don't really care for it. I don't think it's effective. I think it's mostly, like, kind of really pathetic, to be honest. Now, I do think there's a different context. Typical male take, I know, right? There is a different context in South Korea, though. Now, I'm kind of painting with a broad brush because I'm not even remotely an expert on South Korean cultural problems, but my understanding is that over in South Korea, every man is Hitler. South Korean men have had a radically right-leaning turn in terms of misogyny specifically, because this is kind of a self-perpetuating cycle, right? the more unavailable women are, the more lonely and desperate men feel, which makes them more susceptible to like Andrew Tate-esque misogyny, you know? Wasn't this debunked? There was a broader like chart of multiple countries that was debunked by Soaked on Left a little while ago, but we're talking specific to South Korea, and this is definitely the case. You know, it's like a self-perpetuating thing to a large extent. And from what I've heard, just anecdotally, men are wretched to women in South Korea. Like, the bitterness and entitlement and hatred that a lot of them express towards women is not even remotely coded. Like, it's a lot. Again, not all men, obviously. There are plenty of fine young men in South Korea, but this is definitely like a pronounced issue, you know? And it's gotten worse with time, and the birth rate has gotten lower, and relationships have gotten less frequent, and, you know, so on and so forth, right? Hopefully the people who made Lies of P got mad pussy, though, because that game rocked. I want to believe that in that specific, like, I'm rooting for those guys and girls, you know. Is there any specific factor behind all this shit in Korea? Again, not an expert. I'm kind of speaking off the cuff here, but my understanding is that generally speaking, there is a broad tendency towards like chauvinism in many places in that region. Japan has this issue, China has this issue, but like in South Korea, you have that along with like a dead or dying economy, along with crazy work hours, along with a history that does not romanticize gendered engagements in the same way. I think like Japan, as many issues as Japan has, I think there are some like cultural mainstays holding them up a little bit that South Korea might not have with regards to like chivalry or the innate value of like men and women being together. Basically what I'm saying, okay, what I'm saying is that South Korea has not had a Shinzo Abe telling them to breed, okay? That's what I'm saying. Good article? I love good articles. Feminists are protesting against the wave of anti-feminism that swept South Korea. Vosh, I was on a double date in South Korea, and the guys my friend and I were meeting had intense rapey vibes. That's unfortunate. It doesn't help that their conscription policy drives a huge push to misogyny because women don't have an obligation to the military, whereas men do, and men value it as some kind of rite of passage. Blech. Anti-feminist wave that has swept a big part of the historical issue is arranged marriages. I'm sure there's a lot that's like so complicated, I would need to like really look into it. Excuse me. But whatever the case may be, it is particularly bad in Korea right now. That is for sure. An administration fueling anti-feminist sentiment. Yoon won the presidency earlier this year on a platform accusing feminists of misandry and appealing to the young men who feel like they must bear the brunt of Korea's growing economic insecurity and shrinking job market. Oh, this probably isn't helping. Policies meant to increase economic opportunity for women and close the gender pay gap have fueled young men's resentment towards women. Anti-feminist, one YouTube channel with more than 500,000 subscribers, uploads videos that target feminists as mentally ill radicals who promote female chauvinism. Yoon has continued to push his anti-feminist agenda in recent months, insisting he will follow through with his campaign plan to abolish the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family. Afuera! Yoon blamed the ministry's officials for treating men like potential sex criminals and escalating gender inequality. Man, the culture war really is global, huh? It really is like the same shit everywhere. What it's like to be a woman in South Korea. The gender pay gap in South Korea was 31%. Holy shit! More than double the OECD average of about 12%. Jesus Christ! Choose between career and family. Strict maternal leave policies at workplaces are among one of the reasons for South Korea's alarmingly low fertility rate. Women are held to a beauty standard many believe to be unfair and inappropriate. Yeah, I gotta say, we're gonna talk about this a little bit more in a second, but my understanding is that they are fucking insane about beauty standards in South Korea. Like, really, really bad and wild. Like I know more about how it is in Japan, but it's worse than Japan. You know, yeah. I think K-pop contributes to this to a large extent. You wonder why K-pop is so popular, right? You know, all those idols. I think that a lot of that, yeah. Escape the corset movement 2019, a rejection of standards of beauty and conforming. In the Tokyo Olympics in 2021, South Korean archer An San, who won 3 gold medals at Tokyo, I remember that, became the target of online abuse from anti-feminists who claimed her hairstyle indicated she was a radical feminist. Ah, classic. Femi, short for feminist, has become a derogatory label for any person who speaks up about gender discrimination. Huh. Yeah, that all about tracks. It's not good. How do you even deal with this scale of brain rot? Well, the funny thing is, like, we're actually seeing something that's pretty close to what the far right describes as civilizational death, and it's being caused by misogyny, you know? One thing that I'm reminded of here is a misogynist, like etymologically speaking, the term arose from an era where being sexist was not considered to be bad. Like, if you think about the term misogyny, do you think that if you take that back to its root word, like 5 trillion years ago, it was like it was like a pejorative to be sexist? What a misogynist referred to was a man who was so over the top and embarrassing in their sexism that it was like an embarrassment. It emasculated them, you know? It was misogyny described not the belief that women were inferior, which was almost universally held, but rather the embarrassing, cringy overemphasization of that belief, you know? Like the difference between a person being kind of calmly, passively sexist and a person being actively resentful towards women, you know? If you can imagine like think about like a stereotypical like 1950s guy, right? The average guy in the 50s probably did think less of women in some kind of way, but even back then, you would be considered sort of like pathetic if you as a guy were like berating your wife in public or saying like, nah, men do this, women do that, come on, like getting really weird about it. Yeah, it's like incel shit, basically. Yeah, literally. Like if you, the root of the word misogyny goes back essentially to accusing people of like kind of acting like incels, you know? Be casual about it. Don't be overly invested in it. The funny thing is, it seems like South Korean men are being misogynistic in like the classical definition. Civilizations can rise in spite of widespread misogyny, right? But what South Korea is doing is expressing it to a degree of self-destruction. It's not even about equality anymore, right? It's about like men are being so repellent, they are literally like not having kids anymore. They're literally like destroying the bedrock of civilizational stability, which is a stable birth rate. They're destroying that purely because they're so repellent to women that they're not like even. You can have a high birth rate in a sexist society. Many such cases. It's pretty weird. Korean Gamergate that gave insight into the whole stuff article. Gamergate was global, okay? By the way, here's the radical haircut. So she literally just had like a short hair, and that's it? Okay. It does look like she cut it herself with scissors. You know what? If you win 3 gold medals at the Olympics, I think you're allowed to give yourself a bad haircut. I think that should be allowed, personally. If you want to see into Korea's crazy beauty standards and industry, check out this Vice piece that is part of a video on Korea's illegal beauty industry. I will have to look at this in the future. There was something that I wanted to tie this to, you know? So South Korea seems like it's kind of like careening towards oblivion because the men are so repellent that women don't want to spend time with them. Okay, fine. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about fan service. you know, I myself not being a, oh, some of you know where this is going. I myself not being, you know, a resident of South Korea, or as a matter of fact, Japan, you know, I'm kind of, you know, looking in through the glass here, right? But something that I've noticed as somebody who plays foreign video games, as do we all, is that there is a weirdly high number of, how do I put this? Games from any country can have fan service, and that's fine. But for some reason, that shit gets really weird when it's from Korea. Stellar Blade is a game that I think is coming out soon that has been marketing itself almost entirely off of how it's defeating the woke feminist agenda by having every female character be a glistening skin suit sex doll. Now, as somebody who has nothing fundamentally against glistening skin suit sex dolls, the only vibe that I really get from games that are built to look like this is those, like, try not to come in 20 seconds games. Like, are you playing like, come on, you know? Like, Bayonetta is heavily sexualized, but it's all done in a kind of, like, stylistic and narratively coherent way. I think, like, this is literally like, I'll put it this way. If the character walking up the ladder was supposed to be some kind of, like, Aphrodite sex goddess who's descended to Earth to beat a bunch of demons, okay, fine. I think she's literally just supposed to be, like, a chick doing stuff. And she just looks like this, you know? It's just weird. It makes me feel like I'm playing a Gooner game, you know? I feel like, in comparison, I could artistically justify a lot of the weirder fan servicey stuff, even from, like, Nier Automata, you know? Because at least there was, like, a kind of artistic through line there, and the game was designed in such a way that you could play Nier Automata and think, okay, like, I understand this as an aesthetic whole. WHOLE. You know what I mean. I can understand this, like, as a cohesive work of art. It doesn't really feel like those 20 seconds to come games, if that makes any sense, you know? I'm asking you guys, I didn't bother to, like, go up and look for a bunch of evidence or whatever, but, like, do you agree with me when you say that, to those of you who know, I don't want a bunch of no answers from people who have no fucking clue what this is about, there are a weird number of games from South Korea that have this, like, bimbo sex doll, like, glistening ass titty from South Korea specifically. Like, there's a lot of it from Japan. Lord knows we've blamed Japan for this in the past, but South Korea has, like, a very weird, specific, you know, I'm glad you agree, because I've noticed this plenty. And a lot of these gifs and character designs in, like, show Nikkei, if you want a strong example. Oh boy. Goddess of Victory, Nikkei. I don't know about this one. Here's the first screenshot that I found from Google. Yeah, that about tracks, I'd say. It's not just about fan service. It's like the cringy blend of fan service and, like, self-serious, like, a bunch of girls going to war stuff. I don't know. Whatever. Hyung Tae Kim is rather prolific. Is that a studio that makes a lot of this stuff? I'm sure we could find examples to support the point over and over again. Again, not anti-fan service at all. I love Nier Automata, okay? It's more like there's no artistry in it, you know? It's like how do I put this? You can say some sussy shit if it's part of a good joke, right? If a person says something that's kind of problematic on a racial or gender or, like, transgender or whatever line, if it's a funny joke, I think you can get away with it because the point was the comedy. But if you're saying racist shit and there's no comedy, the only reason you'd be saying it is for the racism, right? In the same way, you can include fan service in a way that feels like cool, interesting, artistically cohesive, empowering, or just, like, titillating in an artistically engaged way, and all of that's fine and that works. But then, like, you can also include fan service in a way that feels like it was specifically meant to appeal to, like, incels. For a perfect example of this, you can go on Twitter right now and find a bunch of right-wingers saying, look, South Korea knows how to depict women. If Western game studios were making this, you know, then they would all be fat, ugly SJWs with colored hair, you know? Like, there's a bunch of discourse on it because, like, this is how women should be depicted. You know, women as designed by studios coming from the country with the lowest birth rate on Earth. But the Game of the Year winner from 2023 was Baldur's Gate 3, a game where you're not only constantly surrounded by beautiful women, but you can fuck them and they get naked, like full frontal, you know? So it doesn't seem like an abstention from nudity or even sexualization is really an issue with Western studios. It feels like a lot of right-wingers over here in the West just like the fact that these women are being depicted as sex dolls. Or, to put it another way, I ask you to consider, if there's no difference between this and any other fan service, why does the right wing start salivating over stuff like this in a way that they don't for other developers and their games with their fan service? If there's no meaningful distinction between stuff like this and what you would see from like any other game that has fan service, like Baldur's Gate 3, where you can fuck the characters that you like, why does the right wing love this shit, you know? I hope you all get the point that I'm getting at here. What I'm saying is, the reason why this stuff is so prolific from South Korea, I think, is for the same reasons they have such a low birth rate. I think that there's something innately degrading about the way these women are depicted that differs from regular fan service, which is why the right wing in the West likes it, and why it comes out from places that have such issues with misogyny and like women not wanting to be around men. You understand? Witcher 3 had softcore porn scenes and nobody got on that. Yeah, because in The Witcher 3, the women you fuck are treated like human beings. They're not just glistening sex dolls. Hopefully all of this is making sense. Something similar happened in Korea with Blue Archive. Gotcha, with some questionable model. I can't read the whole article on this. There's not this wasn't a gif of big sweaty tits. I'm not looking at it. There's some insane Chinese Gamergate shit happening with Girls Frontline 2 as well. Well, China also has an issue with this to a large extent, like everything that I'm describing here. Project Moon is a good example of a Korean dev that does not do this. You know, wait. There's so many things to talk about here, and I don't want to lose track. It's not like I have a script to work from here. I'm just trying to make a fundamental point. Yeah, Cyberpunk 2077 also has full frontal nudity, sex scenes. Witcher 3, likewise. Sex scenes, Baldur's Gate 3, full frontal sex scenes, but people, because this is all Western devs, you know, but this all gets folded under the like, you know, oh, whatever category. I feel like one of the main reasons why Baldur's Gate 3 didn't get as much pushback from the right wing as people expected it to, because it's such an obviously left-leaning game, is largely because it was so good, it's hard to touch, you know? The Witcher 3, in a lot of ways, a clearly left-leaning game. Seriously, like, play it, keep an ear to the ground, you'll understand. It's very difficult to strike against it because, again, phenomenal game. What are you going to do, make a culture war out of fighting that? Are you fucking kidding me? The Witcher 3? Cyberpunk 2077, obviously a left-leaning game. You'd have to be an idiot to not understand where that game's politics come from. Are you going to strike against that? Well, they did because it released in a buggy, unfinished state, sure. But, like, in the politics sense, like, what are you going to do, right? Yeah. Check out Moon Channel. They're really good in this. Yes, yes. There was a whole thing about a pinch gesture in South Korea where incels are canceling companies if a female character shows a pinching gesture. They interpret it as the girl saying their dick is small. Wow, that is the most self-indicting insecurity imaginable. Why would anyone project that hard? Are you kidding me? Are you serious? Is this real? The projection, unbelievable. I didn't know whether or not I should talk about this, but like a huge part of the incel bullshit coming from South Korea is that they, along with Asian men in general, are kind of like the global punching bag for small dick jokes. Any consistent data that I've ever seen on like average dick size per country is A, unreliable because different standards of measurement are used in different countries, and also sometimes the collection is suspect in itself, and B, marginal, not a big deal. But, you know, much in the same way that the average fucking black guy here in the States just has a regular ass dick, so it's probably pretty weird for like him to go on a porn site and every single black guy is like massive BBC Rex White pussy or whatever, then any dick mention of a Korean person presumably is going to at least be coded in some kind of like, you know, the inciting pinch poster. How fucked do you have to be as a guy? Wait, this? Because it's a sausage? It's camping. What? Okay. I can't believe this emotional camping must-have sausage item thing is attacking men or whatever. I don't know. Fuck, that's weird. Thank you. This is shocking levels of insecurity. Yeah. I don't want to visit South Korea because I'm worried that as a 6'2", broad-shouldered white man, I would be like stabbed to death by 50, you know, gibbering incels who assume, you know, that I'm like, that I would height mog. Yeah. South Korean incels think that every major company is overrun by SJW feminists. Literally the exact same thing as over here, right? So they look to this stuff to accuse companies of being invested by feminists. It's just Gamergate shit. It's all the same. It's literally the same culture war all over the place, every single time. They literally did the thing that you said about if the West made Stella Blade. Oh yeah, I saw this. Did this person, I think the person like removed their tweet or something. They posted a photoshopped image of like a fat girl, and it was like if IGN made Stella Blade, to which, you know, name me one mainstream video game with a fat woman protagonist. And yeah, good luck with that one. AI generated, actually. Oh, whatever. Here it is screenshotted. That's true, man. Western game devs are always making characters that look like this, their protagonists. This happens all the time, you know? That's so true. I can remember literally millions of examples of this happening. OP's barely disguised fetish. Yeah, seriously. No kidding. Why would IGN make a game? They don't know. They don't know. They have no idea. Literally. Yeah, like IGN? The review company? What do you mean? It's like, yeah, like IGN. Like, they don't design games. Why would they? If Xbox made a game. The little dick pinching thing is so fucking wild, man. This is one of the most egregious examples of harassing companies into changing stuff because of the hand gesture. Oh, no way. For those wondering about the Starsung art hotfix. In the back... What? That? It's a guy. It's not even a girl. They go through media frame by frame to look for resting positions of the hands to freak out about. So what I'm learning from this is that if you're ever arguing with like a misogynist South Korean guy, all you have to do is post like this, like a drawing of that, and they just like they'll explode. I like remarkable. Not the goddamn gesture again. What was the first incident with the hand sign? It was a scene where Yi-sang picks up the ampule. So they had to do this before in a scene where somebody picks something up. This also enraged people. This? Pray tell, why would this enrage? Why? Because the holding... Okay. I don't know. Anyway, my conclusion from all of this is that South Korea deserves to sink into the sea, or alternatively be reconquered by North Korea. Whatever is going on in North Korea, it can't be this bad. Okay, it's time for one Korea, but the other guys win. Okay. Link to context. This is fucking wild to think about. Like the level of projected insecurity. Korean brands remove ads featuring this hand gesture after men's rights activists complain it's anti-male. Like genuinely, like the projection necessary Just the fingers together. According to activists, the hand gesture represents making fun of a small penis, aka its misandry. The movement blew up on the internet on May 13th when Korean YouTube personality and well-known feminist JJ ate a piece of chocolate at the Baeksang Arts Award red carpet while posing for photos. The men's rights activist took serious umbrage at the way she held up the piece of chocolate, claiming the star knew exactly what the hand gesture symbolized. A petition to ban her from TV, 82,000 signatures. Convenience store chain GS25, fried chicken chains Barbecue and Kyochon online fashion store removed their ads and issued apologies over use of the hand gesture. Why are you kowtowing to this? Are you kidding? This? Just a person reaching for... yeah, this is just having opposable thumbs. It's how we fucking evolved. Yeah, please, Kim Dynasty. Well, I tie me to a missile and fire me at Seoul, okay? Please, Kim Dynasty. The people of South Korea call out to you. They beg for liberation. Yeah, this is worse than anything. This is unironically more pathetic than anything Gamergate did. Like, by far. Korean men are not well. Isn't Genshin Impact Chinese, not Korean? I think... Wait, is Genshin... Am I thinking of a different thing? Yeah, Genshin Impact's Chinese, not Korean. Though it is popular in Korea. Genshin Impact Airship Protest. What? I don't think this is relevant. I guess so, Tempest. Yeah, you have to, like, grab a chicken drumstick with like, the gorilla grip, the whole hand, you know? This isn't helping stereotypes against Asian men. It's really not. No, it's really, really not at all. Not even a little bit. It's not helping. This ended up being a lot sadder than I thought it would be. I genuinely don't think the average North Korean is this delusional. No, genuinely, like, the social situation in North Korea is probably better. Like, in terms of interpersonal social dynamics, it might actually be better than this. Like, the South Koreans don't have a totalitarian government. So what we need to do is mix the... Okay, in fairness, the South Korean government also isn't very democratic, so whatever. We need slight democracy mixed with not hating women more than anyone has ever hated women ever in all of human history. And if we can merge those two things, we can have a functional one Korea. That's kind of racist, Sherlock Smug. I believe the Korea protest for Genshin is because one of the 5-star premium characters is a femboy-ish Linny. You know, in a way, I feel like this masculine insecurity from Korean men is kind of like a different version of the racialized bias that we see in colorism and advertising in like African countries or in India, where skin whitening procedures are common there because the beauty standard is globally determined by whoever has the biggest, you know, the biggest wallets, and we have the biggest wallets. So Western media propagates everywhere. So people see that as the standard for beauty. So Indian women will lighten their skin, and like Japanese women will get like the double eyelid surgery or whatever. And South Korean men will think like, oh, in the global like hierarchy of dick size, like we're considered the lowest. So therefore, like, you know, we're projecting this problem or this insecurity. It's pretty weird, gotta say. South Korea's giga colorist too. Yeah, I mean, Japan is as well. I guess they share that at least, but yeah. Look at how light-skinned this Indian group is. This is an Indian group? Good lord. Man, I'm glad. Look, America has its problems, you know, but I'm glad we don't have like this version of this specific problem, you know? Like when black people appear in media, they're not like they didn't get like fucking white paint sprayed before. Oh, sometimes that does happen, but we don't have this level of that problem. Jesus Christ. Okay, to be fair, those girls are hot. Yeah, we're not contesting that. You can link it, Autistic Chatter. You're really living up to your name. But I'm not going over it right now. What level of racism is this? I don't know. Indians are literally that light-skinned. I mean, some of them are, yeah. Skin bleaching is still insane to me. Like, is it actually what it sounds like? Yeah, pretty much. I didn't contest that, random stranger. Korean MapleStory fans rebelled when a character did a pinching hand gesture for 2 seconds in an animation because it was making fun of small dicks, apparently, and the company kowtowed to them. Man. Jesus Christ. Imagine looking at this, like, magical girl lolicon chibi whatever the fuck. And that, let me zoom in on the 3 pixels there. Maybe the fact that it's such a tiny gesture makes it more of an insult because the dick must be truly minuscule for this to be descriptive of it. This is like psychosis, yeah. Like genuine mental illness, you know? Honestly, gotta say, I support the 4B movement in Korea. I support political lesbianism. The impression that I am getting of South Korean men, especially young South Korean men, the kind of people who would play Stellar Blade or Genshin Impact or MapleStory or whatever the fuck else, I don't think they're worth their time at all. I like even a little, you know? I support it, okay? All of you, be lesbian. Go forth. Why are they feeding the small dick stereotype narrative? Yeah, it's really, really pathetic. They're not helping the situation for themselves, you know? The insecurity is weird, hot take, but having a small PP is fine. Yeah, I know. Nothing that I've said even remotely contests that. We're not talking about dick sizes here. We're talking about this, like, psychosis that's gripped the minds of this incel movement. There's a Reddit post explaining this MapleStory situation for proof. Oh, I believe you. At this point, I'll believe you for anything. You know, anything in this vein. In the new Angelic Buster music video, it was alleged that the lead animator that worked in the animation was tied to radical feminist ideology. Ah, Hamas? Hamas? As far as I can tell, it is a form of extreme feminism, and the movement uses this as a gesture to belittle men about their penis size. Okay. It was shown that in the AB video, Angelic Buster did the same hand gesture. Some of these seem like a stretch, but that is what the KMS community is alleging. Korean MapleStory. Mushroom game fun. Back to mushroom game. This is one of the most goofy controversies I've seen involving video games in a minute. This feels like the okay sign turning into white power shit all over again. Yeah, except, you know, the fucking Christchurch shooter actually did make that gesture, and it was promoted by people on the right. How do we get here? I don't know. Maybe the devs of a lolly game deserve this. I don't think MapleStory is actually pedophilic. Well, MapleStory is just all chibi, right? They're just all like little chibi baby. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun, dun, dun, dun, dun, dun, dun, dun, dun. Welcome back. Sorry, yeah, South Korean Mossad got me for making this gesture. But honestly, like, I'm not gonna lie, I don't support body shaming generally, but considering the fact that the South Korean incels have effectively made this like their symbol, I don't give a shit if women in South Korea do it. If nothing else, they've demonstrated small dick energy, like, beyond the pale, so, like, whatever, I don't give a shit. It's not literally about dick size, how could it be? They don't know the dick size of any individual fucking weirdo incel. Yeah, they're psychic dick size. Wild. Okay, hold on, we got stuff to talk about. Like, actual stuff. Alright, we have time for just a bit more. I regret to inform all of you that the newest development in the progressive flag has been made yesterday in London. If you are flying any version of the progressive flag that does not have another bisexual POC chevron coming in from the other side, then you are now biphobic. If you have any version of the flag that is not this one, that indicates you do not support bi people, okay? Are bi folks getting excluded right now? Well, I noticed this version of the flag also doesn't have the intersex circle, so maybe this is an intersex-phobic, bi-inclusive, progressive flag. Yeah, new patch notes, okay? Yes, just drop again? Looks like OBS is a little bit mad at me. For a second? Yeah. Why did they add the black and brown again? Because it's like a Black Lives Matter thing. Black, brown, indigenous, whatever. I don't know. Bi POC. It's all dumb. But those aren't sexualities, identities. It's the general progressive flag. Okay, real politics, real politics. Why is this not loading? Load. User test account, that's what we're doing. Okay, yeah, chat. Hello. What's up? Trump's net worth plunges $1 billion as his media stock tumbles. Here we go, yeah. Trump's Truth Social reveals $58 million loss as auditor raises doubts about viability. So, my understanding is that investors are basically saying, please don't invest in Truth Social. It has literally no value, and it'll plummet in value if Trump ever leverages or sells it, which he will because he needs money. Like, if he dumps his stock, like, it'll all be worth nothing. It's just a scam, you know? And as you know, people claim that, an extraordinary stock market debut last week left Trump Media and Technology Group valued at more than $7 billion, but it generated sales of just $4 million in 2023, according to regulatory filings. Sales, not net profit, sales. So not even to speak of the cost, you know? I love the stock market. It's so rational. It's so good at rationally determining what things are worth, you know? That's so great. I love that. Net losses for Trump Media came in at 58 million. Oh, nice. So it made about 1/15th as much as it lost. That's great. That's good. Super cool. And as a consequence of that, his net worth plummeted. After the company disclosed it lost more than 58 million, generated very little revenue in 2023. Former President Donald Trump is the company's majority shareholder, and his net worth tumbled by more than $1 billion Monday as a result. The figures underscore why some experts warn Trump Media's multi-billion-dollar valuation defies logic and is reminiscent of the meme stock craze. It's almost like it's an irrational system for allocating worth. Okay. Revenue tumbled 39% year over year in its fourth quarter to just $751,000. That's not what investors want to see from any startup, especially one valued at those levels. Yeah, but the people who would be investing in Trump Social would not be doing so because they really want a return. They'd be doing so because they want to pump Trump up. They want to they want to use it as a pump and dump, you know? At Monday's afternoon prices, Trump's stake of 38.8 million shares is now worth approximately about $3.8 billion. This represents a massive boost to Trump's net worth, though it is down significantly from its peak of about $6.3 billion just last week. Nice. He got $6.3 billion in evaluation in the course of a single day. It's already gone down by $2.5 billion, you know, nearly halved. Such a rational market. We love our rational markets, don't we, folks? Can he even pay the $175 million bond at this point? I'm sure he'll be able to find that much money. He is currently unable to offload his stake, however, and will need the stock to continue to trade at the levels to which it has surged in recent months if he is to raise billions of dollars from a sale. Trump will never be able to get anywhere near as much as he wants from a sale because A, he has to wait unless those rules are waived, and B, can you imagine trying to find buyers for 78.8 million stocks in a company that lost nearly half of its evaluated worth in that length of time? Or lost billions in evaluated worth? Like, saying you're going to sell at a given price is one thing, you know? Actually managing to sell it, he'll never sell it. But he needs money. He needs liquid cash. So is it not Jover? It is not yet Jover. The second that sale order goes out, everybody knows that the only reason Trump Media has any stock value is because it's tied to a former president. If Donald Trump tried to sell, not only would the price immediately plummet because he's selling all the goddamn, you know, shares that he has, but additionally, it'll plummet because it would represent the only reason the company is valuable at all, bailing out from ownership. You know, it only exists because of him. There would be two depreciatory pressures on the share price, immediately overnight. It would be nothing, and it's already plummeting in value, even though he can't sell for months. Ridiculous. Yeah, selling the burning scraps of a sinking ship. Exactly. Elon's going to buy it for $7 billion. Well, Elon also doesn't have $7 billion in liquid cash to throw around. I think he should do it, though. I think he should tie himself to more sinking ships. Do you think this is going to harm his re-election chances? Well, it's going to limit the money he has to campaign with, so yeah. Closing my to-be GIF near ass automata Google search window. Thank you. Thank you, Chrome. And what's this?
start this hour in Turkey and some historic results for the opposition in local elections there. The party of President Erdogan has suffered its largest ever defeat in municipal elections. Correspondents say voters appear to be punishing his AK party for the spiralling cost of living. The main opposition, CHP, achieved its largest victory in 45 years. It secured wins in 6 of Turkey's 8 largest urban centres, including the country's biggest city, Istanbul. And for the first time in
2B is the perfect example of a sexy character that's also designed well. Oh, you know, the #1 test of whether or not a fan service like sexy character is drawn well is whether or not artists draw them, you know? If they're drawn well, if they're compositionally interesting, like, then artists will draw them forever. People are still drawing 2B, but there are a trillion throwaway horny girl design characters that nobody gives a fuck about. Overwatch is another great example. Overwatch's character designs were so good that it literally kickstarted an entire new fucking genre of pornography with SFM porn, you know? That's how good the designs were. So, like, clearly, you know, there is some metric by which you can decide shit like this.
5 years, they won more municipalities than the ruling AK party. President Erdogan described his party's worst ever defeat as not an end, but a turning point.
We will not disrespect our nation's decision in any way.
Man, he looks like shit, huh? Is it just me, or does he look much more like shit recently? Like, I don't know. Now, I know the lore, Pharaoh person.
We will avoid being stubborn, acting against the national will, and questioning the judgment of our nation, as we have done so far. We will take the necessary steps by analysing the messages.
He's also old as shit. He's 70. He's like a decade younger than Biden.
Given by the nation at the ballot box, most accurately and objectively within the reason and in our inner conscience.
Opposition supporters say although these are local elections, victories in big cities are a significant show of force against President Erdogan's ruling party. This was the scene in Istanbul, where thousands took to the streets to celebrate the opposition party's win. The city's incumbent mayor, Ekrem İmamoğlu, declared victory after securing over 50% of the vote, well ahead of his nearest rival. He became Istanbul's first opposition mayor in 2019. He's now seen as the best-placed opposition candidate ahead of Turkey's next presidential vote.
He's gonna get arrested. This motherfucker. This guy's on ice. Okay, it's over for him. He's gonna be accused of corruption and fucking yoinked. How honest are Turkish elections? I think that the main issue with Turkey's elections aren't the literal vote counting. It's that Erdogan will politically bully and influence the elections beforehand. Like, the actual vote counting, I believe, is relatively above board. It's that he uses his power to, like, break the election beforehand, basically. In Kurdish areas, they're literally just rigged. Okay, yeah, well, maybe for the Kurds.
In 2028, he told supporters the result signaled a very important message to the world.
In this world, unfortunately, democracies were weakening. While these democracies were weakening,
A lot of Turkish people permanently living in Germany vote for Erdogan. Yeah, diasporas are almost always Hitler. It's like that with Cuba. It's like that with, like, there's a bunch of, like, Iranian expats who, like, worship the Shah over in America. Yeah, the diasporas are always Hitler. That's why when you go online, you see a bunch of people who are like, you know, glory to Turkey, Erdogan, kill all you degenerates, and then wolf posting, and then it's like, they live in London, you know? There are so many people like that. Seriously, you're on Twitter and you see, yeah, anytime you see some, like, crazy right-wing, they could be like an Islamist, they could be like a fucking, like Hungary or Russia or whatever. London, UK. What is it with London, dude? What is it about London that attracts so much crazy fucking diaspora nonsense, okay? If you like those countries so much, go and live in them. If you like Serbia so much, go and live there. Oh, you don't want to because it's a shithole? Too bad. Go.
authoritarian regimes came to power. Many articles around the world asked if we were coming at the end of democratic regimes. 31st of March 2024 is the day when democratic erosion in Turkey ended and democracy is rising again.
Well, Anna Erim from the BBC's Turkish service
Like
says
this
this
guy's,
is an unprecedented win for the opposition.
People were expecting opposition to win in the largest cities of Turkey, but actually getting more votes than the government party in general in Turkey, and winning in some cities which they haven't won in.
Okay. Nothing against this guy's appearance or anything, but he's scary. He's scaring me. Your eyes are so open. You look so unkempt. Are you going to eat me? You look, yeah.
In last 40, 50 years is a very big success for the main opposition party, CHP.
Cihan Tugul is Professor of Sociology at the University of California, Berkeley. He gave us his assessment of Turkish politics following on from these election results.
Voting was...
Oh, I thought they were saying the other guy. Okay, yeah.
Mired with irregularities in Kurdish cities. And despite that, the Kurds took back most of their municipalities from the appointees that had been imposed by Erdogan undemocratically. And
very good. Yeah. K-Comrade Robin Hood literally just linked this. Turkish officials opened several bursts of gunfire into the crowd of Kurdish protesters who criticized the non-local soldiers from the Turkish military. Yeah. Because open firing on civilians is always a good idea. Well, you know, they're Kurds. So, kind of a given with Erdogan. Hakeem is pogging right now. True. Hakeem's like, yo! Erdogan and Hussein together. United in thought and in action. Here's a map of how Turks living abroad voted in the last runoff. Yellow is Erdogan, red is other guy. Jesus Christ. I guess this fits, right? Yeah, anyone in the Middle East or the Arab North Africa, anything in that ballpark, you know, because they know, you know, it's like, you know, how Hitler are you, and what kind of Hitler are you relative to the kind of Hitler that Erdogan is? And the reason France is different, of course, is because they have so many, like, of the Islamist Hitler varieties. But in this case, their Hitlerism is countering the Hitlerism of Erdogan. Whatever. Good Lord. Good Lord.
Erdogan might try to do this again, actually. So the game is not over there. The scuffles will continue. And
Sweden? Okay, think of it this way. A lot of the people in those countries have been... Never mind, it's too complicated.
The other dimension is the growth of the far right. So this has not stopped. So that Erdogan has lost doesn't mean his vision.
In 2015, when the now banned Kurdish HDP party won in every Kurdish area, all their mayors were just arrested and replaced with Erdogan party mayors. It's insane how bad it is there. Are you ready for this sweeping Kurdish victory to incite Rojava to start pushing back on the northern front of Syria? It's time. Rojava, the conquest lays before you. You will march north, and you will liberate your Kurdish brothers and sisters. It's time. Total Kurdish victory. Let's go. Gotta turn southern Turkey into fucking northern Rojava.
Has lost. So 4% of his votes have gone to a far-right Islamist party, which had been criticizing Erdogan because of his free market policies, his socially unjust policies that target poor people and small shopkeepers and small tradespeople, and also his dealings with Israel. Turkey has serious trade with Israel, and Islamists are pretty unhappy about this. So actually all of that is good.
To be honest with you, I don't even understand why Erdogan supporters like Erdogan. Like, let me clarify. I understand why Erdogan supporters would like him more than other people on offer, but I don't know what Erdogan supporters would like Erdogan for, like, on his own, like, liking him, you know? Because it seems like he fucks up in so many of the ways. Like, I know the weird nationalist bit, but he doesn't even really do a good job with that. I don't know. He's not particularly charismatic. He's not much of a strong man. The economy is wretched under him. He has, like, a tenuous, like, you know, handful of alliances that kind of contradict each other. He's tall? Must be that.
Well, I mean, all of those could be really bases for a strong democratic opposition. But the catch in all of this is that this party I'm talking about, this far-right Islamist party, is also very anti-woman and anti-LGBT. So it's taking these democratic demands and it's marrying them to an undemocratic agenda. And even the bigger risk is this party was already in a coalition with the governing party, AK Party, with Erdogan's party, and they broke off because of Israel and Erdogan's free market policies. But if Erdogan makes some concessions, this party might, recombine its forces.
You really don't want Islamic rule in Turkey? I disagree, okay? It's time to reestablish the Ottoman Empire. It's time. Turkey is bloated and weak. We need to return to our roots, okay? No, you mean the Byzantine Empire? We could go farther back. Actually, Islamists tend not to like the Ottoman Empire. Well, yeah, the Ottoman Empire wasn't as Hitlerite as many, like, Islamists are today. The grand unified scale of Hitlerism as, like, the only determiner politically of what you believe in. No empire can ever be as radical as its adherents want it to be, because empires have to consolidate the cultures and people that they conquer. Every empire has ended up that way. The Ottomans, the Persians, Rome, every single time. You know, you have a core of, like, ideologically and culturally pure people, but if you want to maintain any kind of empire, you have to expand outwards, and that means incorporating and assimilating other cultures. That's what makes it an empire. So an empire could never be like a real caliphate, not the one the Islamists want, because the Islamists want a caliphate that unites, like, a completely, like, monolithic, hegemonic, unitary Islamic faith, and that's just never going to happen. That's what ISIS kind of tries to do. And everyone hates them. Yeah, Wahhabism started as an attempted revolt against the Ottomans for not being fundamentalist enough. Yeah, those guys are fucking crazy. They had to be, Nicky Bugs. They were an empire. Christians tried that and got pretty far. Not really. There are so many different kinds of Catholicism even, you know? Apart from the fact that there are 50 trillion branches of Protestantism, and then there's the Orthodox and Catholic split, you know? But there are always, like, different flavors of Catholicism anyway. And for the longest time, there was never really meaningfully... Like, Christendom was never really a unitary force, right? Even before the Protestant split, like, Christendom meant, like, a vague collection of territories, and, like, whether or not the leaders were on good terms with the Pope, you know, the Holy See or whatever, they might lend to an army or listen to a decree, but it was never consistent. They would fight all the time. It just doesn't work. In support of your Iranian regional hegemony point, there is hope for change. See, shit like this really does give me hope. Iranian support for secularism has more than doubled since 2015. As much of a grip as the Ayatollah and the Revolutionary Guard and the morality police have on the Iranian people, in spite of that, they are still a remarkably secular, democratic, and liberal population, considering the circumstances. Nearly 3/4 of Iranians want a secular government instead of a theocratic dictatorship. A regime-conducted poll has revealed. This is probably better numbers than America. I bet you more than 1/4 of Americans want like a Christian nationalist dictatorship, even if they won't admit it. 73% expressed support for separating religion and state, compared to 31% in 2015 when the survey was last held. God damn. Iranian Zoomers were waving the U.S. flag in the streets when the U.S. beat Iran at the World Cup. Yeah, I'm fucking concerned for their safety. Over 15,800 Iranians of voting age across 31 provinces took part in the anonymous study run by the Ministry of Culture and Islamic Guidance. According to Iran International, the study was confidential but leaked to overseas Persian media outlets. The polling is consistent with other studies of Iranian public opinion. This was done by the government? The government wanted to poll this? Why would you do that? That's so embarrassing. Hey, besties, it's us, the Iranian government, led by the Ayatollah. How many of you like me, Uwu? Check yes or no. You won't get in trouble for it. %85 of Iranians saying they've become less religious compared to 5 years ago. God damn. Are you ready for all of these trends to reverse because Iran and Israel get brought into a hot war and they get like sort of blasted with Islamist martyrdom propaganda every single day and a bunch of them end up radicalizing into the far right? Are you ready? I'm ready. That's part of Israel's goal, TBH? Yeah, literally, yes, yeah. You think Israel wants a secular democratic Iran? Are you fucking kidding me? Absolutely not. That makes them an unviable target. When you say stuff like that, you give me a tummy ache. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for giving you a tummy ache, Ectoplasmic. I didn't mean to. I apologize. All right. That actually concludes all the segments that I wanted to go over today. I have some work that I need to get done. When I say work I need to get done, what I usually mean, by the way, is like I have some fucking errands that I need to run. I do my work from the computer. What I mean is I have some errands that I need to do. Yeah, wait. But, sorry. By errands, by work I need done, I mean, well, let's say jerking my peanuts. There we go. Tomb Raider when? Tomorrow? Maybe? Where are you in your Lies of P run? I finished it recently. It was really good. I'm trying Dragon's Dogma 2, and the main problem that I'm having right now is it feels so clunky to play anything other than the Warrior. I really want to do the Ranger because the idea of like running around and doing like headshots and stuff sounds really fun, but trying to precisely aim with a controller, you know? Maybe I should switch to keyboard controls. Maybe that would be better. It says you shouldn't, but maybe I should. Thief is real fun. I've heard that, yeah. I've heard that. I've heard Mystic Spearhand is fun, yeah. If you gotta aim, you need a mouse. It doesn't feel that great on the controller. Archer and keyboard is nice. I'll give it a shot. I'll see. Is Dragon's Dogma 2 good? Well, I've only put in like 15 hours, which is, I think, maybe 1% of the game, so, you know. Won't you stream it? I did. We're still doing a bunch of other games, okay? What type of controller do you have? A $15 Logitech controller. Generic. It's very light. That's called a socialist controller, okay? Let's see Paul Allen's controller. Oh my god. My fucking chin hurts. Alright, I'm reading donos. Mythaldo with a gifted tier 1 sub. Hope y'all appreciate a buff cat. Oh, I fucking like this earlier. This is so good. Not a furry, by the way. But this art is so fucking good. Why don't more men look like this, is what I'm asking. I've seen that on Twitter. I love that piece. The art is also excellent, leaving aside any other weird hang-ups you guys might have with this. Yeah, it's a hairless cat. It's Pim Jim. Not an olive. Thank you for the $5. Listen to Verspatin by Bjork. I will consider it, but I can't make any promises. Yibabts, thank you for the $10. Vosh, have you seen this animated short film called Cannon Fodder from Memories 1995? No. It is a great piece that depicts a fascist society obsessed with cannons. Well, to be fair, I also like cannons. Doesn't everyone like cannons? Aren't cannons just really, really cool? I can make a mental note of it. Bitches do love cannons. Salty Internet Private, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Majority Report interviewed Yanis Varoufakis. Maybe I will look at that. That does sound interesting. Kindred Reveler, thank you for the $10. Congratulations on your 3-year anniversary of starting to take estrogen. Shuck, thanks the tier 1 sub. I know that Israel-Palestine is morally uncomplicated, but holy hell, is the history and geopolitics complicated? Yeah, it's historically complicated. It's like descriptively complicated. Morally, it's uncomplicated. You know, that's the important part. Lily's What? Thanks the tier 1 sub. I love BP cars as well. This Awkward Fox, thank you for the $5. Pulse, thanks the 2 tier 1 subs. Got free tickets to a JP event, Jordan Peterson. And my OBS is being mean again. Okay, there we go. I think we're back now. All right, we're back now. No, I can't think of any questions in particular for Jordan Peterson. You'll have to front those yourself if you do ask anything. Croc Goblin with the $5. Your fashion arc has infected my brain. Now when I see someone in a suit, I'm looking for a collar gap and judging them on the fit. I wear Crocs and PJs 24/7. Just keep in mind, the reason I care about this stuff isn't necessarily because I think it's like a matter of personal slobbishness. If you don't care about dressing up or dressing well, that's fine. Whatever, you know, not everyone has to care about everything. The thing that bothers me is that clothes have been consistently made uglier and uglier, and people care about them less. We think of them as like disposable whatevers. We don't have any appreciation for it, you know? That's the thing that I take issue with. I have a problem with like people dressing poorly in the same way that I have a problem with graphic design trends in the past 20 years, where things have gone from being like interesting and detailed to everything having that exact same like minimalist, you know, like everything looks the same. Does that make any sense? It's not that any one company bothers me. It's like there's a general loss of the art form that bothers me. And I think that people care about it less. And I think it's good when people care about beauty in general, not just like individually, you know? And I think it would be easier for individuals to care about beauty more in a world where, like, you know, where it's not all like some arcane, like the average person dressed better back in the 50s, not because they were all fashionistas, but because the average clothing available to them was just more interesting. Looking for a new fit, should I go with Prada or Versace? Fuck it, Versace, go. Mostly Deviant, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs. I really appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. It's very kind of you. Vosh wants to fuck sundress bitches. I don't like sundresses at all. Like, I actually quite dislike them. Basically, for the same reason that I've described before, sundresses are very visually uninteresting. Leaving aside all of the trad bullshit, they're very boring to look at. Like, all a sundress really does is tell you that a woman wants to breed, you know? Like, oh, look at me. Oh, I am feminine clothing. Wow. I don't care. I don't care. Wow, that's great. Like, by what kind of sundress do we mean? The porn ones you see on Twitter or shit like this? They're just very boring to me. Part of it is because I don't like the like, you know, feminine submissive associations. But if you want to go to feminine and submissive, here are some dresses from the 50s. You'll notice immediately that they tend to be a lot more interesting and structured. They tend to be belted. They have more like ornamentation going on. They often have like ribbons or bows to accentuate the waist or whatever. They sometimes have capes. Can you imagine seeing capes in like modern clothing? These are also pretty femme-coded, but I think they're a lot more interesting to look at. The modern sundress is just like a fucking towel that you're wearing. It's nothing. It's boring. Like, look at this. This is a vintage dress being worn in a modern context. It's delightful. That looks delightful. Look at that. Who would complain about this? Look at that, the lovely touch of the, like, it's because it's all one piece, right? Or it's all, like, as a set. So you have the little scarf thing on the collar, but you also have the, like, on the pleating of the skirt, you have, like, the plaid. The one piece is real. It looks nice, no? There are some trends from the 50s that I don't like quite as much. I think this leans more into the simpler clothing that I like less. But even this has more structure to it. You can see the belted waist for all of these, actually. I've made my point. You can go back even further to like flapper girls, where their outfits were very, very interesting and ornamented. Look at that. I don't know as much about women's fashion, so I don't really have like super strong opinions. I don't get the association of sundresses with being sexy. Me either. I think it's a like, oh, feminine submissive thing. You know, sundress. The only thing I ever see talked about, like sundresses, I just massively associate them with that kind of thing, you know, which isn't my thing. You can go back even further, man. To the 1890s, where a bunch more stuff really comes into vogue. Look, raised collars, ties, bows, fucking shoulder padding. Like, there's so much more interesting stuff going on. That's because people back then only had like one or two nice items of clothing. So they would take good care of them. Victorian prudishness? Yes. I mean, it was a more socially conservative era, but I think there would be ways to learn from this style of fashion in a less prudish context, you know? Like, I think there are valuable elements of the fashion here that can be separated from the prudishness, you know? Because there were dresses, even from that era, that had much lower collars. This would have been like a pretty risque dress for the time, I imagine. A lot of these are kind of impractical to walk around in. And obviously, I think that if you're wearing clothing out day to day, it should be like relatively easy to walk around in. But, you know, people dress up to go outdoors even today. Look at that. That's so pretty. Like a big, long, ground-touching skirt, belted shirt, high collar, and then this like suit jacket with a puff shirt. I think it's cool, you know? I think it's too much. Well, this would be like formal dress. Like, I'm not saying everyone should walk like this to the grocery store. Just, you know. Oh, want to know one of the main reasons people don't dress like this anymore? Cars. You used to walk to go to the market or to do whatever you had to do. Or you would call for a carriage. Nowadays, everyone has to go in a car. That means you can't wear stuff that's larger than your figure because the seat of the car is built to your figure. Cars are one of the reasons why you rarely see men wear coats anymore, too. Because they come down below the end of the butt, meaning that they're kind of inconvenient and awkward to wear. You should wear them for walking around, not to go into a car. In fact, men have driver's coats, which were a thing for a while, which are basically like these abomination half coats that come down just below the butt, but not further. And they were meant to be a compromise between the warmth and formality of a coat and just wearing a regular jacket. As you can see, they're shit, because they're a compromise. Either go with a jacket that ends here, or a coat that goes down further. This like, oh, but it has to fit in the car. Ridiculous. Look at this. It looks ridiculous. It's like you're wearing an ill-fitting coat or an oversized jacket. Nonsense. There's a reason people don't wear these. The only items of clothing that you regularly find that come down to this length are parkas, and that is for a practical purpose, not to fit in a car. Also, the pants don't fit them. They're a bit on the tighter side, I guess, but that's more of a stylistic cut than it is ill-fitting, I feel. What about this for women, though? What about what for women? Women can't wear men's clothes. Don't be ridiculous. Satanic cabal. Trust me, we covered it. His facial hair needs to make a choice. Yeah, well. What's your opinion on 1960s fashion? That's a pretty broad brush you're painted with, you know? I don't like hippies. That's my opinion. All right, finishing these donos, because then I gotta go. Piotr Online, thank you for the incredibly kind $25. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Hell yeah. Spiderbite, thanks the tier 3 sub. I am the April Fool. Pranks be upon ye. Nothing but pranks this damn stream. Excuse me. Kevin Norton with the $5. Korean culture is so fucked that a plane crashed because a younger pilot couldn't call out an older one. What? Gotcha drama and the Korean gender war. Okay, I'll have to look at this in the future. Good lord. Lily the Gaylord PhD with the $5. What the fuck can we do to de-radicalize this level of psychosis? I don't know. I'm really sorry. I don't know. I don't know. There are very few instances that I can think of a like nationwide psychosis being dispelled. I don't know. I'm sorry. Some kind of crisis or great tragedy, something to really reorient people's position. I don't know. I'm sorry. Antifa Private, I have not seen anything on this drama, but I suppose I'm going to learn. This sort of 60s fashion? You mean men wearing dresses? I don't think most men in the 60s were dressing like this, but good for them. I guess they're not really dresses, but you know what I mean. The one in the middle is a dress. Car coats actually look clean. I like them. No. Smelody, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Happy birthday to your stepfather. I'm very glad to hear that he's been good to you since you met your mom. Love your kitties? I do love my kitties. We love them very much in this household. Frankly, they get... Yeah, sorry guys. OBS has been acting up. You know, it's been acting up most fierce. I just wanted to say, by the way, that, you know, because I'm almost done reading donos. Now that you're back, I just want to say... I really appreciate you guys being here for this stream. It was a pretty big stream, you know. You've probably noticed that I have something of a, you know, tumultuous relationship with, you know, the broader online community. And it always makes me happy when I see that in spite of all the nonsense, we can get together and depress ourselves with world knowledge, you know, and covering news and whatever else. And talking about Stella Blade, fat ass, jiggly butt, glistening big boob titty, sex bot, cum pussy, tiny dick, little finger, pussy feminism style chauvinism, men's rights incel. Very good. Very good. Terminal Sandy, thank you for the $10. And here I thought I was being extravagant, thinking about maybe buying a used electric Dodge Charger for $35,000 in 2 years instead of another Honda Civic. I personally have never been a car person. There are some cars that I think are beautiful, but my thought of a car has always been that it is a tool that gets me from place to place. I care about my house being clean. I care about myself being clean. The car is just an instrument that moves me around. So I don't, like, if my car gets banged up, or like I back into a parking lot concrete pole, which has happened at least once, and I get a bang, I don't care. right? I don't really care. Like, it's not great, you know, but as long as the car functions and I'm not damaging other people's stuff or hurting anyone else, of course, it doesn't really fret me very much. And that's the attitude that I have with cars, and I want to keep thinking of it that way. Oh yeah, keep the inside of your car clean. That's no excuse for having a disgusting inside. I keep the inside of the car clean, but like clean, you know? We're not doing like leather polish or whatever. And I just don't, yeah. JW, thank you for the €6. I'm sorry, it's so hard to do video game playthroughs on stream because there's always so much politics, and I got to do the YouTube segments. My editors get mad at me if I don't do the segments. They say mean stuff to me. And Tempest earlier said something mean to me over text. Tempest said, it's the 1st of the month. Please pay us on time, please God, and mean stuff like that. And the video games take a while because people distract me from chat, and they're mean to me in chat, and it's hard. I want to, though. I want to finish Tomb Raider, and I want to do the Metal Gear. I have to pay the editors. I know. Hardest job in the world, guys. Hardest job in the world. All right. I love you all very much. It's been a delightful stream, I think. I've enjoyed it in spite of the grim topics at times. I am going to send you on over to Riverboat Jack is streaming. And the stream title is the most important stream you will ever see. Well, that sounds important. I'm going to send you guys over there. I love you all very much. It's been a wonderful stream. Take care of yourselves. I should see you tomorrow. I might, oh, sorry, hate symbol. Might not stream tomorrow, but I think I will. I think I will. Take care.